We are doing horoscopes, monthly horoscopes for June 2026. I'm going to try to do them for July as well because July is such a big freaking month. But it usually is my 12th house season around that time, so I don't want to promise anything. But instead of doing the Sag full moon video, because there's really not much going on for that full moon, I do love a Sag full moon though, but we really don't have too much going on for that full moon. So instead of doing that full moon, I decided to do horoscopes for June. I hope you guys love it. I am going to try to do these a little bit differently than how I've done them in the past. I'm going to just try to give you guys pretty much all the advice that I can for your rising sign for the month ahead. I hope it's helpful. I hope it resonates. I hope it lands. June is a little bit of a wonky month, okay? It's definitely not the most intense month of the year, but we are running into some squares and we are dealing with a lot of Cancerian energy this month. So this can be a little bit of a moodier month. There are some highlights to it though, but this can also feel a little bit aggravating at times too. And so just keep that in mind. We're gonna go ahead and move into the horoscopes. All right, Gemini, let's go ahead and get your chart up on the screen here. This is your June 2026 horoscope. This is a really big month for you personally if you're a Gemini rising. There's so much happening this month that is really, really affecting you. I think you're going to see most of it towards the second half of the month though, so we're going to probably focus a bit more on that in this horoscope because I'm not trying to make these forever long. So what I see for you though in this time frame when I just look at your chart, Gemini, is there is a massive focus towards your goals when it comes to like, okay, what am I doing out in the world? What am I doing with people? What are my aspirations? Like, what is going on? You know, there's been this bigger vision of who you need to network with, who you need to connect with, what you're doing with groups of people, audiences, you know, certain different cliques, organizations, etc., that you are getting involved in. But this month, that is definitely going to run into some issues with the squares that we're going to have from Cancer pretty early on in the month. So there may be this push and pull between your needs, your finances, what you need to do for yourself versus, you know, what you are doing out in the world or what you're doing with other people. So you may feel like you have needs and things going on personally that you need to take care of that are priorities for you, but it may start feeling like other people or whatever you've been focused on and going towards in this Aries 11th house of yours are not really meeting those needs or not really not really aligning with what you want or what you feel like you need this month. Okay, now it doesn't necessarily mean it's completely a bad thing. I think that you're going to find a way to still make whatever this is in your second house happen because we do have that Venus and Jupiter conjunction that's going to happen early in the month, right around June 9th. So I think that if you can be patient a little bit, especially in that first, you know, week and a half to 2 week period, I think that you're going to really come to understand how you can, you know, either change your perspective or come to understand some of the lessons that you're learning in this area with your needs, with your priorities, etc. And I think a lot of this is like, where are you maybe, you know, needing to focus more on yourself and what you need, and who you are and how your needs and your attachments are potentially controlling you, okay? Because this is Mercury is also going to be moving through your second house, and Mercury is your chart ruler. So it's like, how are you letting your emotional attachments to certain things, whether it be to income, assets, resources, finances, how are you allowing your needs, you know, to affect how you see yourself? I think that's going to be really big on a month like this. How, you know, you may be coming at things from more of an emotional angle, and that's not necessarily a bad thing, but you may feel like your thinking is a bit compromised by your needs, your mood, your resources, your emotions, you know, potentially family matters, things going on that are kind of close to you, stability, security, all of those things. And they could potentially be coming back to this focus on yourself or this need to focus more on yourself, your mindset, and how you're showing up in a certain way. So, you know, the other thing about this is I think this is a really good month on like the flip side of that for really putting yourself out there more, being more authentic, finding confidence in your voice, your self-esteem, your self-expression, the people that you hang around on like a day-to-day basis. You may find that you are able to go out and enjoy yourself a lot more. Maybe there's some events or some different, things that you're doing in your local environment, or some short trips that you're going on, or some, whatever the case may be, content that you're making, just different ways of socializing around you, or even online, or skills that you're learning that you're really having a lot of fun with. But it is going to involve you facing this power struggle with Pluto in your ninth house. So maybe you've been holding back from expressing your truth in some way. Maybe you've been holding back from being authentic in your self-expression. Maybe you've been holding back from feeling too confident about yourself with your skills. And so this month's going to come in and say, hey, you don't have to, you may feel like, okay, well, I don't know it all, or I'm not as educated as some of these other people, or maybe you're facing some power struggle with like higher knowledge versus lower knowledge. And when I say lower, I don't mean lesser than, right? It's just like what you're doing and your skills you may be comparing to something else. I used the analogy in the first half, like you're a pop star and you're going on stage for your first time to perform, and then you realize the whole audience is like a grunge audience, and so you perform anyway your pop music and they don't like it, and it's like, well, that doesn't necessarily mean your performance was bad. It may just be like, you were performing to the wrong crowd, and so you could really see where you had been seeking validation or giving power to something better, greater than yourself. Maybe you are going through a massive transformation of your mindset, your beliefs, your worldviews, and you're learning to just be authentic and focus on who you are now. I think that is like the goal here, right? Focus on who you are in this moment and like that person, and speak from that place rather than who you feel you need to be, or the things you need to know first, or the education you need to have first, right? Like, just be authentic, be you, like express yourself. I think that's kind of the biggest thing here. So that's what I would really focus on for you with that opposition, and that opposition is happening right around the 17th, so halfway through the month. Now, the other part that I think is going to be kind of big for you is the very end of the month. So we're going to have Mars moving into your first house, Gemini, and then obviously because of that, it's going to start coming into its conjunction with Uranus. This is really going to shake things up on an identity level for you. If you've already been kind of thinking about who you are, how you express yourself, your style, appearance, body, vitality, personality, how you're showing up in your life and in the world, this is going to like freaking amplify that. Like it's going to create just such a freaking stratosphere, that's not the right word, I guess, explosion of like a force field. I think that's what I was looking for. Like this explosive force field of energy of, I am antsy, I need to change something. Like you may start feeling restless, or you may start feeling like there's something that you need to cut off, or you need to stop doing, or you need to break away from, or you need to reinvent, or you need to like liberate yourself from. And that's going to be even more amplified because, again, Mercury is going to be in Cancer. Mercury rules this. So again, it could be getting amplified by your needs, your security, your safety, your attachments, your priorities, your assets, money, resources, familial situations, family situations. Like all of these things could really be coming into why you feel this need to break free. This really feels like breaking the chains of something that's been holding you back on an identity level, or how you've been seeing yourself, or finally speaking about something, or putting something out there that you can no longer hold in anymore. With Mercury being your chart ruler, you being a Gemini rising, Venus being in your third house, these are all kind of about communication in a lot of ways. So I wouldn't be surprised if some of this for a lot of you has to do with communication, has to do with you speaking out, or something along those lines, speaking some kind of truth that you can't hold in anymore. And so that's going to be really big for you too as a Gemini rising. I think that's like the biggest transit of June, and it's at the end of June. So I would really prepare the end of, the first half of the month. What have you been kind of putting off? Okay, like what have you been putting off that you need to do, that feels necessary, that feels like a need, or that feels like something that you're attached to? Maybe it's a good thing, maybe it's not. That it's time to kind of let go of, or that it may be time to face in some way so that you can move on in a healthy way? Are there certain feelings, emotions, and stuff that you haven't faced that it may be time for you to face? Okay, so that's going to be really big for you this month, Gemini Risings. Let me know down below how that resonated. I'd love to hear your feedback. Comment down below, Sexy Gemini Rising. If you watched until here, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye. Alrighty, Cancer Risings, let's go ahead and put your chart up on the screen here. This is such a interesting month for you as well. We have a lot of things happening in your sign this month, even though it's not quite your season yet. And so this definitely will be a massively self-reflective month for you. And it's going to involve a bit of a challenge or struggle between your career, your long-term goals, your future, where you see yourself, what you've been building towards, this vision that you've had for yourself, your life, your, this direction that you've been headed in. It's going to involve you kind of potentially feeling like you have to focus more like on yourself a bit, or do some internal stuff before you can move on, or deal with some like, emotional stuff going on with you, or going on with your body, health, appearance, identity, before you can really get back to focusing on your future, your goals. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean that's going to be the case for all of you. Some of you may still be able to focus on your future and goals and work on your stuff. And I think that's kind of the challenge here. Can you do a bit of both? Because with all this Cancerian energy, you may start allowing your feelings, your mood, your, thoughts, your mindset to get in the way of the bigger vision. And you may really talk yourself into some like, procrastination because you feel a certain way, or your mood is not the best today, or like whatever the case may be. You could start feeling even a bit agitated, like with this push and pull. Like, you could start feeling like, I am getting agitated, or there's like this built up tension or this built up anger. Like maybe work is going to require more of a responsibility for you, or you have more of a responsibility going on in your career right now, and you're like, oh my gosh, like I just need to rest, or I just need to focus on me, or I just need to take a step back and like regulate myself because I have all of this emotional stuff going on with me, or all of this energy going on inside of me, and I just feel like I need a break, or I feel like I need to take a step back. And I mean, a lot of June is your 12th house season too, so the sun will be in your 12th house for most of June, a good chunk of June. So this is also kind of that break feeling, or that retreat feeling, where you feel like there's something you need to figure out internally before you can go full speed ahead. And so that definitely could be the case for a lot of you guys this month. As the first half of the month, we have Mercury squaring the Aries transits. We are going to then have the sun squaring the Aries transits. And so as these planets move through your first house, you're definitely going to be feeling like you are coming up against a challenge with yourself and with your goals in life, or your career in some way, shape, or form. Now, they aren't like the worst challenges in the world. Like these definitely aren't like, something you can't overcome or impossible challenges. And so just remember that. They could just be kind of like annoyances, or you getting annoyed with yourself, or you getting annoyed with your career, or you feeling like you're dealing with maybe some insecurities within your identity about going after these goals, or about this vision that you have for your life, about these things that you're working towards in your life. And so just kind of keep that in mind. But anyways, so the other thing that is really happening this month is we are going to have Venus conjunct Jupiter in your sign, which is going to happen right around the 9th. And so in even like the week leading up to that, you can definitely feel this. Now, this is usually a more positive transit, and it won't be squaring those Aries placements. So even though you may feel some frustration with going after your goals and your future and your career stuff this month, you may also feel like you are making a lot of progress and learning a lot in terms of yourself. Like you may feel like you're getting somewhere positive within your own identity, within your own lessons to do with your identity, to do with yourself, your appearance, your body. So it may kind of feel like an appreciation for yourself, an appreciation for some of the emotional experiences that you've had over the last year with Jupiter, and you're moving through your sign. You may kind of start to see it from a more positive perspective. If you're not already right around that Venus-Jupiter conjunction, you may even start to feel more compassion for yourself, more secure within yourself, more safe within yourself. So that's a really kind of positive thing that's happening for you this month. Now, other than that, the next big thing is that Venus will then move into Leo. And right as she does, she starts to oppose Pluto in your 8th from your 2nd. And so this is a massive financial financial transit for you. Your needs, priorities, assets, resources. And it really looks like this is coming in here again because these changes could be occurring to your career. And so as you start feeling like you are getting more in touch with the internal part of you, yourself, your identity, and how you're feeling about yourself, taking care of yourself, worrying about your own needs, you may then start feeling more confident and more secure in your own needs. And then you may run up against facing a fear and putting that confidence and bravery to work. You may run up against a power struggle or a change that comes with some fear that may need to be made. And that fear could definitely say, okay, maybe I've been overworking myself, or maybe I've been going about my goal in the wrong way, or maybe I haven't even been going after my goal and I'm wearing myself out on something I don't even want, and now I need to take a step back and take care of myself. And then that self-care leads to you realizing, like, you know what, I need to be a lot more confident and secure within my needs and my priorities. And then you start realizing what needs to change to do that. And that change may come with some fear. That change may feel a bit psychological. That change may come with, like, you no longer valuing certain things anymore that you used to value or that you were once attached to. A lot of you guys could see major changes in your financial situation, or you could literally be the ones that are asserting that change. You know, you could really start facing some kind of financial fear, maybe a debt, maybe some kind of financial fear that you haven't been wanting to face. You could start feeling brave enough to face that. You could feel brave enough to take a risk at this time, and face a fear that puts you in, like, a better financial situation. You could be realizing where you've allowed debt or past financial stuff or financial issues with other people to validate yourself, or to validate your confidence. And you could start realizing, like, I'm no longer going to allow this to dictate whether I feel good or confident in what I have. And so it's like you really start trusting more in what you have, in your natural abilities, your natural talents, your natural skills. But by doing that, you're facing some whatever fear has been holding you back from that. Okay, so that's kind of the plot twist a bit of the month for you. That happens on the 17th, but, like, right after that, Venus is then going to trine Saturn in your 10th house. And so this is a really beautiful thing. Venus just faced fear, like, you just did something brave, faced a fear, transmuted it, finally dealt with the situation, and now you're reaping the rewards from that with Saturn. It's like you're starting to believe in yourself more. You're starting to believe that you can go after this vision. You can accomplish these big long-term goals. You can do this. Like, you start believing in your own innate abilities more, in your own potential more. And so that is how I see that going down for many of you. Now, the next part of this month, which is the very end of the month, is where everything gets a bit wonky. So on the 25th, I'm going to talk about this really quick because this is powerful too, which, the 25th is right after that Venus-Pluto opposition on the 17th, and then the Venus-Saturn trine right around the 25th as well. There's also the Sun square Neptune, and I think that's also you realizing where you haven't been seeing yourself clearly, or seeing what you're capable of in your career and goals clearly, or where you've maybe put your goals and your vision up on a pedestal and put yourself below it. Something like this definitely could be the case here, where you're kind of like, okay, maybe I have not been going about this the right way, or maybe I've not been seeing this clearly. And so this could definitely be challenging you to kind of break out of an illusion of the way that you've been seeing your future, yourself, all of that. So the big other part of this month is Mars moving into Gemini and then immediately conjuncting Uranus. And this is happening in your 12th house. And I mean, the 12th house is a spooky house at times. It can definitely be a Debbie Downer. But I also feel like this, it's kind of like, I won't say like a great place to have this transit, but it's not as, I feel like it's not as bad as others. And I know that's kind of crazy to say about the 12th house, but I feel like, you know, Mars in the 12th is like kind of putting your actions towards a subconscious or hidden realm, if that makes sense. It's like pushing you and your energy to focus more on what's going on behind the scenes. So this Mars-Uranus conjunction definitely is crazy. This, you know, it is a crazy transit just in itself. But with it being in your 12th house, I definitely see you breaking free from old habits, old addictions, old cycles, old things that are keeping you stuck or that are kind of working against you, that are self-sabotaging you in some way. Old mindsets, old ways of seeing things, old perceptions. Like this is definitely going to show you where you have almost limited yourself within your own subconscious, within your mind, limiting beliefs, like all that jazz. This is a really great time to break out of a jail that you've built for yourself. This is a really great time to free yourself and break the change on something that has been holding you back in some way. Now, the downside to this is that you could start feeling very restless. You could start feeling even a bit manic. You could start feeling like, especially if you're not aware of what's going on within you, when this happens, it just could start feeling like, oh my gosh, I need to do something and I don't know what it is. It could start feeling stressful. And some of you could feel like you need to do something, but maybe you can't for some reason. And what I mean by that is, like, I have a really good friend that's a Cancer Rising, and I can't remember what he did, but he did something. Like, he had like when Mars went retrograde in Gemini a few years back, he had like some kind of like accident. It wasn't anything crazy, but he was like, he had to be like laid up for like the whole retrograde. It was like a few months, like he had to be basically like laid up and he couldn't do anything. And so like all that energy was like in there, like not going anywhere. And that's what I mean by that. So that obviously won't happen to everyone. I would say be careful of accidents or distractions around this time. With this being in your blind spot, it could indicate that, you know, something that you're not seeing, you know, could come out of like, you know, come out of nowhere. So just try to like be aware. I'm not saying that to scare you. I just mean like, try to just be aware of what's going on. Now, it's not going to be the same for everybody, but try to find something that excites you, that helps you to spend time alone, and that also helps you to learn how to like be with your mind, you know? Like this is really like, again, like I feel like the higher path in all of this is to liberate you from your mind and from old thoughts and from thoughts that are holding you back, are causing you a lot of anxiety and attachment. You know, the ruler of this Mercury in your sign, you know, Mercury is going to retrograde right after Mars moves in Gemini in your sign, Cancer. So you're going to be like really rethinking and reflecting on like who you are, what is going on within you, what's going on inside of you, and what you need to quit, walk away from, leave behind, break free from. Like, you know, what illusions you need to shatter here, what old mindsets are no longer working for you, how you've allowed maybe past anxieties, you know, to kind of paint your perception of yourself. This could even somewhat be like, I don't want to say an identity crisis, because I know that sounds dramatic, but a reinvention of who you thought you were. Definitely. I could see that happening for a lot of you. So towards the end of June, there's definitely a lot of like, okay, I need to rethink how I see myself, because I'm kind of breaking free of these old narratives, these old stories I've been stuck in. And without those, who am I now, you know? And so this is going to be, you know, moving into July as well, a time for you to start really reflecting on that. So yeah. Other than that, like I said, Mercury will retrograde in your sign, so you'll definitely be reflecting a lot on how you feel about yourself, energetically, where you are with yourself, all of that, your identity. And then the other thing that I want to talk about is that Jupiter will move out of your sign this month and move into Leo in your second house, which is, I feel like a really positive thing. So, you know, obviously Jupiter's been in your sign, it's been exalted in your sign. Let me know if you have seen Jupiter themes within, you know, your first house over like the last year. I'd really love to hear your feedback on that. But you know, with Jupiter then moving out of your sign and moving into Leo, it's definitely going to start lighting up that second house for you. And again, you just got this massive confidence boost with Venus moving through there, opposing Pluto, and then trining Saturn. And so with Jupiter now moving in there and starting to trine Neptune, even though you may be going through a bit of a, you know, emotional wave with your identity and sorting some stuff out with who you believe yourself to be and what's going on subconsciously with you, you also are going to start having a lot of really beautiful up levels in terms of your belief in yourself and your resources. So that's going to be kind of the positive thing that happens at the very end of this month, and Jupiter will be there for like the next year. So you will start really feeling this amplification of, okay, I got this, or I believe in my innate talents, you know, I believe in what I could do. Now in July, Jupiter will oppose Pluto as well. So you will still come up against a different version of that fear of, you know, and that extreme change that may need to happen financially, with resources, with your needs, your security, your assets, how you take care of yourself for you to move forward. So just keep that in mind. So let me know down below, Cancer Risings, how that resonated. I'd love to hear your feedback down below. Let me know how it all landed with you. Comment down below, sexy Cancer Rising, if you watched till here. I appreciate you guys, and I will see you in the next one. Bye. Alrighty, my fellow Leo Risings, how are we doing? Welcome to your June horoscope. We're gonna go ahead and put your chart up on the screen here so we can look at it together. I really hope that June is a good month for us, even though we have a lot of 12th house activity before our 12th house season has really started, but we'll see how it goes. So basically this month is definitely bringing up there's a lot going on, number one, in our 11th house because it's Gemini season. So there's such a large focus on not only career with Mars moving through Taurus in our 10th, but also our 11th house. So networking, socializing, audiences, marketing, potentially content creation, if that's something you're into, you know, speaking, like putting yourself out there to maybe a bigger people, or more people, or hanging out with more people, hanging out with more friends, going to events. So there could be a lot of focus lately on our goals, and also, you know, facing getting out of our comfort zone and challenge, and like learning to challenge ourselves and learning to challenge like our mindsets and get into this like higher perspective on our lives right now. So that's kind of the, you know, some of the focus for June and what we're, you know, kind of moving into with like from May. But a lot of this month is going to be, especially the first part, is going to be some squares from our 9th to our 12th. And so what I really see with that is that we may start feeling like we have some things going on internally or behind the scenes or out of the spotlight in some way that we need to deal with. This could be, you know, something going on inside of us emotionally. This could be, you know, getting rid of an old cycle or becoming aware of or noticing an old cycle. This could be really working on certain emotional cycles that have been going on within us. And it could start to feel like we are being a bit, you know, like we are in this kind of seesaw or this push and pull between like, you know, learning endeavors and going after what we want, with also being potentially a bit emotionally overwhelmed behind the scenes, or dealing with some insecurities, or dealing with some internal emotional, you know, messes that are going on within us. And that's because Mercury and the Sun are both going to square Neptune and Saturn. And so this may be a month where, especially that first half of the month, where we start to kind of reflect on, you know, what we've been learning, how we're going about things, what's going on. We may start to see a bit more of what we've been putting out of our focus. You know, it's like maybe we've really streamlined our focus to focus on this top part of the chart, And the 12th house energy is like, okay, well, what have you moved out of your focus to focus on that, right? Maybe we haven't focused as much on family matters or family stuff. Maybe we haven't focused much on our emotions or what's going on feeling wise. Maybe we haven't focused on certain cycles or habits that we're developing that we need to quit. You know, like these are all kinds of things that we could start really seeing coming up in June. Now, the other part about this is, you know, with Mercury moving through Cancer and Mercury ruling our 2nd and our 11th house, we could also see kind of a focus on money, finances, resources, and insecurities or internal stuff going on there that could be somehow relating to our finances and our resources or money. But also, you know, basically our different groups of people, friend groups, networking opportunities, and things like that. So that could also be something else. We're really reflecting on our internal dialogue around security, around safety, around comfort, around emotional bonds, around our emotions in general, around attachments. And so that really is what we're going to see coming up in June. Now, the other part of June is that Venus and Jupiter will be coming into their conjunction in Cancer, which is traditionally in astrology a very good conjunction because both planets are considered benefic planets in astrology. And so I think over the last year with Jupiter moving through our 12th house, we've really had a lot of internal reflection and expansion on what emotional attachments we've needed to let go of, what habits, addictions are working against us in the background, you know, basically where we keep certain things, certain false securities hidden from ourselves, but that end up working against us. And we've had to really untangle a lot of that, let go of a lot of that. You know, Jupiter in our 12th, I personally have noticed, has been such a great influence on quitting habits and quitting things that maybe we once thought were really going to be hard to quit, but maybe it ended up working out and ended up not being that hard. I think Jupiter in Cancer has also really allowed us to stretch our emotional capacity to really look at, okay, where can I handle my mood more? Where can I be in a certain mood but still do the things that I need to do and take care of the things that matter to me? And so with this conjunction with Venus and Jupiter in our 12th, I think it's going to be kind of like maybe a final appreciation or coming together, harmonization of our lessons that we've learned with Jupiter and Cancer in this area of life in like the last, you know, year or so. I think we may find that, like, you know, this could be a really great time where if like you're on vacation, it could feel like, you know, there's just a lot of harmony that day, or there's just like a lot like of being able to just kind of relax and go with the flow and not, you know, allow it to, or like get to in your head about it or something, or overthink it. Like this definitely is a good transit in our 12th for relaxing, for, you know, a healthy escape, so to say. The problem with it though is that, you know, right around the same time Mercury will be in Cancer as well, and it will be squaring Saturn in our 9th. And so we may be having like a healthy escape, but maybe there is also this feeling or something else going on that we are kind of trying to ignore. It's like, okay, I'm trying to like, you know, get away or enjoy myself here, but I also feel like what I'm doing is like not really in alignment with like where I'm going or what I believe or my morals in some way. Or maybe like, you know, maybe the person that you're doing it with, maybe you're relaxing with someone or escaping with someone, and maybe they're kind of like just not the vibe. You know, it could be a few different things here, but maybe like a difficult conversation that someone's trying to have with us as we are like trying to relax and enjoy ourselves, you know, something like that. It's like, it's kind of like, you know, we're like trying to like hang out in a float on the water, and someone's like trying to have some like debate with us, like some confrontational fucking debate with us about like, you know, religion or politics or something. And we're like, I'm not trying to get into that right now. I'm trying to like release my mind and enjoy myself. Like I'm not trying to, you know, get into this debate with you right now. It's kind of like something like that. It's just a metaphor, but still that Mercury Saturn square can, you know, be a little bit edgy, but it's not really like the end of the world. So don't worry. Anyways, or maybe this is another thing. We could be like trying to relax and enjoy ourselves, but there's like a rule that we break, and like, I don't know, maybe you get pulled over. You weren't paying attention and you're not doing the speed limit, or you, you're trying to relax and enjoy yourself, and you finally, you drive all this way, you get to a beach and you're about to go on the beach, and then there's like a yellow tape everywhere saying that you can't pass and it's closed, like something like that, right? It's like, can you still relax and enjoy yourself even if there are certain bumps in the road, challenges, with maybe communication or direction or, rules, or like whatever the case may be. So anyways, moving on from that. The next thing that I really want to talk about for us is Venus will then move into Leo on the 13th, and this is such a beautiful transit. She's entering our first house. This is like, this is the place of our identity, our vitality, our appearance, like, just a place where we can be us and worry about us. And so even though, we may partly be like trying to, socialize and chill at the same time, we're also going to be feeling pretty good about ourselves. Like, our confidence could definitely kick in, our self-worth could definitely kick in, but we could feel a little insecure in some way. Venus in the first house is, moving into Leo. She's going to pretty much immediately come into her opposition with Pluto, and also come into a trine with Neptune. And so something that we may be doing that we may believe is good for us, or we may be putting ourselves out there, believing in ourselves. Maybe we're going to an event and we decide to like dress up and dress out and like, be dramatic and have fun and like let our hair down, let our Leo hair down. We may face some kind of rejection. In the first half of the video, I basically said it's almost like you are letting your inner pop star out, and you get on stage to perform and you realize the whole audience is like a grunge crowd that are looking at you like, what? This is not what we like at all. And you feel kind of rejected. And so this is kind of Venus opposite Pluto. It's kind of like, can we be that Phoenix rising in the face of potential rejection, or in a weird crowd, or in the face of like other people or our partner or people in our lives or the world, people outside of us potentially not liking us? The seventh house can be the place of open enemies. So maybe you put something out there that you really believe in and that feels really aligned with you, that feels really authentic to you, and then maybe you get some haters. Maybe you get people that, but it really shows you what this really is about is power, a power struggle. It's like a power struggle between like what we thought, like putting our light out there and then experience darkness back, or experience loss back, or experience like rejection back. And so it's really showing us like, can you not give your power completely to other people? Can you still love yourself and feel confident in yourself and feel good about yourself? And can your self-esteem outlast and withstand maybe something outside of you that isn't properly seeing it? This could be a really big change in relationships for a lot of Leo risings as well. With Venus moving into your first, you're gonna feel like, I just want to do me. I want to focus on myself. I want to dress up. I want to look good. I want to have fun. I want to be flirty. So if you're in a relationship, this could definitely be a time where like, your partner does not like this energy you're embodying right now or something. They're like, oh, you're being a little too flirty, Or this could also be you starting to have some really game-changing realizations about what you desire in a partner. Like, that could be it as well. Venus opposite Pluto is like, okay, like either my values need to change, or my priorities are changing, or what I'm attracted to is changing, how I see myself or how I see my relationship is changing. There's a lot of change happening here with self and other around this time. And so just be on the lookout for that. Again, that is happening on the 17th of June. So a little over halfway through the month. That's definitely kind of the edgy kind of middle part of the month. And then from there, on the 21st, the sun will then enter your 12th house. And the reason I'm even talking about this is because this is a big deal, okay? If you're a Leo rising, you are ruled by the sun. So wherever the sun goes, you feel it. You start embodying that energy. The sun is about embodiment. So when it's in Gemini, we embody Gemini energy. When it's in Taurus, we embody Taurus energy. When it's in Aries, we embody Aries energy. When it's in Cancer, we embody Cancer energy. And with Cancer being our 12th house, it may be a bit more intense for me because my South Node's there as well. So you may not all feel this way about your 12th house season, but it can be a time of year where you start feeling pulled inward. Okay, especially I notice this more in July than I do June. Usually, like when Cancer season starts in June, the end of June, I'm usually fine. It's not really till July where it really starts becoming noticeable for me. But you may start to feel this kind of pull away from your day-to-day life, your normal routines, your normal external reality. You know, there's been this large focus for the last few months on the top of the chart. So as we move into the 12th house season, you may notice a bit more of a dip in your energy, a dip in your vibe. You may notice like, I just kind of want to retreat, or I kind of want to get away, or I kind of want to like pull back, or I want to rest more. Another big thing with the 12th house season, a lot of times you also start to feel more overwhelmed easier. So being overwhelmed a lot easier, like feeling like your emotions are all of a sudden all over the place, or you find yourself being more moody, or just wanting to be alone, or wanting people to leave you alone. That's definitely your 12th house season. And so what I always recommend during this time, and what I try to do for myself, I feel like it's hard sometimes with the 12th house season, because it's the other thing, it feels like things don't always go your way, plans kind of fall through. But what I personally try to do is, if I can, I try to get away. I try to go on a vacation. It is the perfect time to go on a vacation, kind of unplug from your daily life. And usually it ends up being a very healing experience for me when I do that. I mean, even if it doesn't have to be somewhere super far, even if it can be a few hours away, you know? But I would try to go on a vacation, unplug, relax, try to just let yourself really like feel whatever you feel and not make it a big deal, and just move through the emotions like water, you know? And because again, our 12th house is also the crab, so there's this protective energy to it. There's just this like, I feel emotional overwhelmed and I want to put a guard up and I want to leave out everything else in the world, just like leave me alone for a little bit. I want to like, you know, go hibernate somewhere. And so if you start feeling that towards the end of June or into July, just know it's perfectly normal. The other way to deal with this is to go deep into fucking healing, okay? If you don't want to be a crabby bitch for the end of June and most of the month of July, if you don't want to feel super freaking overwhelmed all the time, or like nothing's really working out, I would also say just try to, like, if you can't go on vacation, I would say try to not schedule anything, especially anything that's like too fucking much, okay? That's just that you know is already stressful, or it's gonna add stress to your life, you know, like just anything that feels like this is too much, or too many people, or I don't feel like some big event or something. Like I wouldn't do any of that. I would literally be like, okay, I'm going to, as much as I can, try to clear my schedule for the month and try to just give myself some time to rest, to relax, to go inward, get really into like healing, you know, like music and energy work, and, you know, go get like a massage or something, you know, self-care, like anything like that is going to be really, really helpful if you can really just get in this mindset of like, okay, like July is going to be my freaking month to like dive headfirst into healing and not look back. That is super helpful. Those are the ways that I've personally learned to move through it, because it can bring up like a lot of like your insecurities. You can start feeling more vulnerable. Again, we're taking on that Cancer energy with our sun in the 12th. It's showing us all the things that we've kind of maybe been putting to the background subconsciously, like not always even consciously. It's just like, oh, I've been a bit insecure here. Oh, I've been feeling a bit vulnerable. Like, you know, I'm feeling like, you know, I'm really noticing where I've been super attached to certain things, and I'm feeling more emotional than usual. And so if you can look at it as like a healing experience, it really is so much easier. And just take care of yourself as much as possible. Don't be scared to say no to people. Do not be scared, like, because that's the other thing. Again, the sun is in Cancer, so we start considering other people's feelings like a lot more. We start taking on other people's emotions. Don't do that, okay? Worry about your own damn feelings. Other people's emotions are not your responsibility. Just keep that in mind. You are not, you know, here to be the family sponge for everybody else's emotions. Like, I would just say, like, don't be scared to upset other people. If it's a no for you, if it's a boundary for you, if it's like, I'm like so tapped out, I cannot do this right now, or I like, would you rather go and be an absolute raging bitch the whole time, or would you rather just say no and save them from that? Like that's how I feel about it. I mean, obviously it probably depends on what it is. If it's like your child's birthday or something and it's like, I absolutely have to go to this, like, can't just miss my kid's birthday, okay, cool. But look at it as like, okay, it's just one day out of the month, you know, because even that, like, it can feel overwhelming. Like, I have family members that have birthdays in July, and even though it's just one day, like, it literally can feel that overwhelming when you're going through your 12th house season. It could just feel like, oh my god, I just want to be left alone kind of thing. And so anyways, so moving on from that, and the next thing that is really happening in June that I want to talk about for you guys is Mars is moving into Gemini. So there's definitely going to be, this is going to be a huge deal because Mars, when it moves into Gemini, is going to conjunct Uranus. It's going to come exact on July 4th. So basically from June 28th to like July 4th, we have this Mars-Uranus thing going on. And this can be very erratic, unstable, restless energy. Luckily, we have this in a pretty good effing place. We have this in our 11th house of other people, friends, all that. So again, what I would say here is if you are starting to feel that pull inward, this definitely looks like something crazy or trending or erratic or like whatever could be going on with people in the world, you know, people in your network, friend groups, audiences that you have. Like, it could be like, you know, something is popping off socially around this time, and you could be like, okay, I'm trying to like go do me. This could even be the trigger for that, honestly, because again, Mercury rules Gemini. So Mercury's gonna be ruling this Mars Uranus conjunction, and it's going retrograde the day after Mars moves into Gemini. So it goes retrograde on June 29th. So Mercury's gonna retrograde in our 12th house, which is really gonna have us like reflecting on what's going on within us and behind the scenes and emotionally and like all this stuff. And then it's going to be ruling this Mars-Uranus conjunction in our 11th house. So it could really be showing us like where we're holding on to past stuff, past cycles, insecurities, old wounds, old habits and addictions, potentially related to money, finances, resources, and priorities, values, and then also social situations, right? Our social lives in some way, shape, or form, our aspirations, you know, who we connect with, all of that. And so this definitely could be a time where I would definitely say maybe if you can not go into any events at the very end of the month and up till July 4th. Obviously, I know July 4th is the 4th of July. I personally don't think I'll be doing much because that Mars-Uranus conjunction is unpredictable. I mean, I can sit here and tell you, you know, certain things we may experience all day long, but at the end of the day, Uranus is unpredictable, okay? Nobody fucking knows for sure what that's gonna look like. And Uranus likes to surprise people. So especially around that time, like, you may feel like, you know, you're getting invites fucking everywhere and it's crazy, and maybe like everyone's trying to talk to you or whatever, and you're like, okay, like, I just really need to like focus on myself right now. I like really need to go in. I really need to take a break, take a step back. Or you could go do something and then it could be like super chaotic, and then you could be like, okay, after that, I am really taking a step back. Like, you know, so I would just, you know, be weary about, not weary, but just be like aware, you know, around that end of the month time frame, that there's a lot of restless energy, a lot of erratic energy. There could be some crazy conflicts going on socially that you're starting to notice around that time, or some crazy changes going on socially that you're starting to notice around that time, and it may cause you to need to like take a second to self-reflect. And that doesn't need to be a bad thing, okay? So don't make it a bad thing. Just like, it doesn't need to be a big deal. Like, you don't have to take it that seriously. But anyway, the last thing that is really important for us is Jupiter is finally moving into Mother effing Leo, our first house this month. I'm really going to love that we're going to have this here without the South Node at first, so we get to at least experience some of that. Jupiter moving into our first house. I mean, I'm a bit biased because I'm also a Leo rising like you, so I'm obviously hoping for good things. But in the first house, I really think that there is going to be a lot of lessons, around pride, ego, honor, integrity, our identity, our vitality, our appearance. I think we're going to do a lot of growing over the next year and a half, especially when it comes to how we see ourselves, our perspective of ourselves, believing in ourselves, our morals, and you know, our virtues, and you know, truly understanding what we're capable of and our potential. I think that's going to be really the biggest thing of all. And I did go over more of this in the year ahead horoscopes, but also it's going to pretty much immediately start opposing Pluto. Like the exact opposition doesn't happen until July, but like it's going to immediately start opposing Pluto, just like Venus did. So, you know, Venus is like so much about our confidence and our self-worth and our self-esteem. And so Jupiter's like, hey, how you see yourself is your perspective on yourself and what you believe about yourself really true? I think that's what's going to be really tested here. There's really going to be this push and pull between, again, what we believe, what we perceive about ourselves versus others, and or potentially a relationship. We could really start embodying our beliefs to their full potential, and then potentially feel like because we are now embodied in our beliefs, or we are now embodied in what we know is within us, or what we, you know, value, now we could start looking at our relationships and being like, well, are our relationships really aligned with that or something, you know, or the people in our lives really aligned with that, you know? And this even goes back to this Mars-Uranus conjunction as well, and Neptune and Aries that Jupiter will be trining. Am I on the right path socially and relationally with my relationships and the people in my life? But also I'm finding that inner courage and bravery and belief within myself again. And does that change anything about the social dynamics and relationships I want to be involved in? And can I balance potential change with other people and relationships with this growth with myself? I think is going to be kind of the big question here for a lot of Leo rising. So that is what I'm seeing for us, Leo rising. You guys definitely got a longer horoscope. Shh, don't tell anybody. I'm sure people will notice in the timestamps anyway. But I love you guys. Let me know how you see this month, what you feel is coming for this month. I'd really love to hear your feedback. Comment down below, sexy Leo rising. If you watch till here because you mother effing are, thank you. And we're gonna go. I am gonna move on to the next sign. Alrighty, Virgo Risings, June 2026 is such a powerful month for you because we have Mercury really doing a lot this month. Like, Mercury's doing so much this month, and so you're going to be feeling everything that it's doing. So it's going to be interesting. Let's go ahead and pull your chart up on the screen here. So basically, the first part of the month, we literally have Mercury in Cancer, and, you know, it's going to start squaring Neptune, okay? Right in the very beginning of June 3rd. Mercury moves in Cancer, starts squaring Neptune, and this is happening from your 11th to your 8th. So you potentially are going to be starting to focus more on potentially finding supportive networks, supportive friends, supportive social groups, supportive social situations, things that, you know, friends, groups, and allies, and you know, networking opportunities that feel supportive, that feel emotionally supportive for you and where you're going, aspirations that feel good to you. But you may start coming into some kind of questioning zone with Mercury squaring Neptune and Aries in your 8th house, with like, if this is really you, or if this really is what you want, or if this really matches who you are, the direction that you're going in. And, you know, potentially you could also be running into like looking for support from certain organizations, certain groups of people, certain, you know, things like that, charities, etc., or doing something with support with those things, with those types of institutions, but then running into potentially some confusion financially. So a lot of times when the 8th and 11th is involved, it can really look like, you know, trying to potentially like health insurance, for instance, or life insurance, or, you know, things like that. So with these squares, there could be some questions coming up with some kind of financial matter, or some kind of institution, organization, or even social group that you're allied with or aligned with in some way, okay? So moving on from that, we do have the Venus-Jupiter conjunction happening at the end of Cancer, right around the 9th. This is usually very positive. this could be some things potentially going pretty well in your 11th house right at this time. Unfortunately, though, even if they are going well, even if like they are smooth sailing somewhat, Mercury will then be squaring Saturn. So maybe one opportunity ends and another door opens or something like that. Maybe you run into an issue or a challenge, but then you're able to potentially resolve it quickly, or you're able to see it from a new perspective or something like that. Like there's some kind of silver lining there right around those first few days of the month. So then we're going to move on. Venus is going to move into Leo, which is your 12th house. So she may start revealing to you where you have been potentially repressing your confidence, repressing your self-esteem, or she may even start having you really want to focus on like inner child healing or inner child work, or feeling a bit nostalgic or feeling a bit more heart-centered in some way. She could have you focusing on maybe past cycles, past habits, or current cycles, current habits, current addictions that, you know, it's time to face. Now, on top of that, though, as soon as she moves in, she's going to oppose Pluto. So this could look like maybe you want to kind of like do your own thing, right? Like you want to like take a break, go be with yourself somewhere, have some fun somewhere, but the responsibilities of like your health or your day-to-day tasks or your lifestyle or your job, the way things are set up, it's like it feels like it's not allowing you to do that in some way, or you're running into like desiring something that could not be good for you, or it could just be you overcoming a fear here of something, a health related fear, or a fear around like where you've been like repressing your own confidence within yourself, and you know, maybe you've been like paranoid about some fear, and so this is kind of like a return to kind of like what you have inside of you can withstand more than you think, something like that. That's kind of what I'm getting out of this. So that's going to be a really interesting one. It's a pretty edgy transit happening right at the beginning of the month, because Venus moves into Leo on the 13th and then opposes Pluto exact on the 17th, but from the 13th to the 17th we're pretty much going to be feeling that. Now Venus is also going to trine Neptune as she's like opposing Pluto, so it's like whatever this is that you're going through internally, it's also being backed by Neptune in your 8th, which, I mean, that could be a good thing, that I don't know, but it's also being backed by Neptune in your 8th, and so it's like maybe you're uncovering something psychologically, maybe you're learning to believe in yourself more, maybe you're learning how to see your self-worth that has been repressed, through, really taking care of shit in the financial realm in some way, but it's also going to involve you facing some kind of fear, in terms of your day-to-day life in some way, or making some kind of change. This could also be you making a change in your day-to-day life, in your health, in your job, in your routines, maybe in your schedule, that your system for doing things, So that is what I see there. Now, the next thing is that right after that, Venus will then trine Saturn in your 8th. And so this really shows that whatever you just faced is definitely also helping you mature, helping you really lay down this new sense of security and stability within yourself as well, and potentially financially too. So moving on from all of that, the next thing that we have is Mercury going retrograde in Cancer. Now this is on the 29th, so we're at the end of June already. Mercury's going to retrograde, and also Mars is going to move into Gemini. And both are connected since Mercury rules Gemini. And so this is going to be a really interesting time. Mars is going to move into your 10th house, conjunct Uranus. So it's going to bring this massive shift, this massive erratic, chaotic potential curveball to your career, to your lifelong goals, to your future. You may just out of nowhere suddenly like change your career, change your goals, or change your life path, or you may, or even at least have the idea to, or have the urge to. And I think that's very interesting with the story that's being built here, because not long before that, on the 17th, So about like a week before this happens, a little over a week before this happens, Venus opposes Pluto. Pluto's in your 6th house of your job, health, day-to-day routines. So it's like you're facing a fear there. You're facing that something needs to change in this area. It's no longer what you want, or it's hindering you, or it's potentially holding you back from feeling good about yourself or your self-esteem in some way. And then not long after that, you go through this massive shift in career, future, long-term goals direction. And so it's like you face some fear that maybe you've been putting off because maybe like you there's been something that you've been wanting to do, but maybe you were scared to do it. And then after that, you start getting more courage. You start feeling more solidified within yourself. And then this massive change comes in your house of career and long-term goals. And that change is going to last from the 28th of June until July 4th, okay? So you could have like just a sudden change, a sudden random urge or a sudden shift in your career. Now, for some of you, this could be coming from outside of you. It could not even be from yourself. Like it may not be something that you are deciding to do. For some of you, this could be like you've worked at a job for a while and then all of a sudden they're like, sorry, you're like, we don't have a position for you anymore. You're laid off or something, which I know could sound devastating. But with Uranus in the 10th, oftentimes these different shock waves and surprises and random occurrences that happen usually are leading us towards something more authentic and that feels more liberating. So even if there's some kind of huge shift that happens in your job, career, future, and then it also somehow feeds back to your social life and your social surroundings or the different organizations that you're affiliated with in some way, I think it's also helping you to liberate yourself in the career department. So that doesn't mean all of you guys are going to lose your jobs or lose your career or whatever, but I do see big changes coming with your jobs, your day-to-day routines, and your long-term goals. If you're retired, this can literally be what you want to do with the rest of your life, or the way that you've seen your life up until this point. What is the pinnacle of your life? What is the story of your life? Where is your life headed? Where was it headed? What are the long-term achievements that you have? Like, so many people are like, I'm retired. And I feel like I bring this up still every time. I say career, long-term goals, future. I still get comments of people like, I'm retired. And it's like, okay, that's cool. It's not just career, okay? It's long-term goals, future. Even if you're just chilling and you're retired, like that's still like, okay, I want to chill. That's my goal, okay? Or I want to do this before I go out, whatever the case may be. But either way, random rant. Something is fucking getting shaken up in your career, Virgo Risings. There's something definitely fucking happening here. You could have literally a download from another planet. I don't know. That completely shifts the way that you viewed your life up until this point and where you're going. I think it's interesting that Uranus is also squaring the nodes in your sign and your 7th house. And so it's like, it's just like this electrifying feeling of like, this like disruption of a timeline or something, like it really is. It's like some kind of timeline shift or something for you guys. So this is going to be really interesting for you. I'm really interested to see how this goes. For some of you, you could be starting something new and risky right around that time too. Like for some of you, this could be something that you're finally push and go on or putting your energy towards, finally taking action on. The only thing I would be wary of is Mercury does go retrograde the very next day. So not usually a good time to start something new unless you have Mercury retrograde in your chart. So with Mercury going retrograde literally like the next day in Cancer, you're really going to be kind of reflecting on attachments to different people and, like I said, friends, networking, groups, opportunities, social circles, etc., etc. So last but not least, we're going to have Jupiter moving into, We're gonna have Jupiter moving into Leo finally on June 30th. And this is gonna be your third, what am I talking about? It's gonna be your 12th house. All right, so this is gonna be more lessons, expansion, and inward internal growth. What is going on behind the scenes? What's going on really with your ego? Where do you hide your ego? Where do you hide who you really are? Where are you scared to be seen for who you really are? So Jupiter is going to really come in here and show you what you hide from yourself in terms of confidence, self-esteem, ego, pride, integrity, honor, all of these things. So it's going to be a really interesting time. You're also going to be like really pushed to just drawing random shit, but you're going to be really pushed to get rid of habits and addictions, because as soon as Jupiter moves in, it's basically going to start opposing Pluto. It won't be exact till July, but they'll still be in opposition by degree. So as soon as Jupiter moves in, you know, there's going to be massive change in that 12th, 6th house area for you. It's like, okay, I'm not putting up with certain things anymore, or I'm ridding myself of certain things, or I no longer want whatever this is in your 6th house to have power over me anymore, you know, or to repress who I am anymore, whatever it is. So anyways, that is what I see for you guys, Virgo. Let me know down below if that resonated. I'd really love to hear your feedback. If you stayed till here, comment down below, sexy Virgo rising, because you are. I appreciate you guys, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye. Alrighty, Libra risings, hello. I hope you guys are doing fabulous. Let's go ahead and bring your chart up on the screen here so we can look at it together. So this month, June, is a bit of a wonky month a little bit. All right, I'm just gonna tell you that. It's not like really bad necessarily, but it definitely is bringing a bit of drama, if you will. A little bit of drama, a little bit, okay? Some parts of June a little more than others, but it's gonna be all right. We're gonna get through it. So the first part of June, all right, is gonna be, there's gonna be a lot going on between your 7th house of other people and relationships and your 10th house of your career, your path in life, your goals, your future, your long-term goals, all of that. So, you know, if it has felt a bit chaotic in your career, I'm sorry to tell you, but your relationships may start adding to that, okay? So if it's felt a bit chaotic, whether in your relationships or your career, one or the other may start challenging the other, okay? So what I mean by that is, like, Mercury basically is going to first go through Cancer, and it's going to square Neptune and then eventually Saturn. And this is all happening within like the first half of June. Pretty much right as June starts on June 3rd, Mercury is going to square Neptune. So you're kind of coming to this ideal about your future and your relationships. It's like maybe you had this certain ideal or this certain vision for your relationships, okay, or for your relationship. If you're in a committed relationship or if you're single, it doesn't matter. You had this certain vision for how you wanted things to go, okay? And you're coming to terms with like, hey, it may not play out like that, or it may not be looking like that right now. It's like your expectations are kind of up for question at this point. They're kind of like, I don't know if I really see the same vision, you know, that I saw before, you know, maybe months back, maybe back in like April, you know, April timeframe. And so you're starting to really come to terms with like, okay, I need to focus on my future. And what could, so this could go two ways. It could be that your future and what you envision about your relationship is no longer aligned, or it could be that your relationships or relationship is motivating your future or motivating you to focus more on your career or your long-term goals, or, you know, whatever that may be. So you could be running into maybe even some illusions around both relationships and career, or a relationship and, you know, your goals, your future, whatever, around the very beginning of the month. Now, the kind of plus side of this is that Venus and Jupiter, Venus will be back in Cancer at this time, they will be coming into their conjunction, which is typically a really good transit because they're both benefic planets. And so when they come into their conjunction in your 10th house, this can definitely be kind of like a opportunity, or you going through this level of appreciation for the lessons or for the outlook or the perspective or the learning endeavors that you have been going through within your career, within your future, within your goals, within your life itself. So around that time, there could be like a sense of gratitude, but it may be a bit disorienting because maybe it's not really what you expected or how you expected it to be. Maybe you had a certain vision that was going to be a bit different, or maybe again, there's some pressure that is being placed on you by another person in your life or by your relationships, or maybe you know, you're starting to see your future and your relationships as like they're both conflicting with each other a little bit in some way, where there's a challenge there in some way, shape, or form. It's like your bigger goals, your bigger life path is starting to come into some kind of challenge with another person in your life, your relationships in your life, and it's really pushing you to think more about what you truly want, about what truly feels safe and secure for you, and you know, also to mature in the area of relationships. And so that is kind of the big theme on and off throughout June, honestly, because we're gonna have so many Cancerian transits squaring, you know, Aries stuff. So you're gonna get different kind of levels of this month. So just be on the lookout for that. It doesn't mean it's not workable. It doesn't mean everybody that's a Libra rising is going to be breaking up with their partner. I mean, for some of you, this could be a good thing. For some of you, maybe like you're in a long distance relationship, and because of that, you are now focusing more on your goals or something like that. Or for some of you, this could be like you're with a partner and you know, they're very focused on their goals and it's causing you to really level up yourself, you know. So there can be healthy ways of this. It doesn't all have to be necessarily challenging, but there could be some challenge in it, right? Even if it's more of a healthy thing where you're with a partner and they are really buckling down on themselves and what they want out of life, and it's causing you to focus more on what you want for your future. That can still be a healthy thing, but it's still a challenge, right? It's still you applying yourself and pushing yourself to something greater in your life. So either way, that's kind of the thing here. If you're not in a relationship, this can literally just be other people. Like, you know, maybe you're trying to focus on your career, but you have a lot of obligations with friends or clients or whatever. Like there's other people outside of you or whatever. There's other things going on outside of you that are almost trying to distract you from that. And you're like, yo, I'm trying to focus on like what's important to me here. So could be some of that. Or your career could be demanding more from you or needing you. There could be like a lot of opportunity and events here in your career, but there's something there. Maybe you're in a relationship that's demanding more out of you as well, you know, so it could go either way. Anyways, the next big thing is that Venus is moving into Leo right around the 13th. And this is a big deal because you are a Venus ruled sign. So wherever Venus goes, you go basically. You start, you know, feeling the qualities of that sign more. So you definitely can start feeling more Leo qualities. So not only are you focused on career, but then you start really feeling this pull towards friendships, networking, events, doing fun things, you know, expressing yourself more, expressing yourself authentically, having fun, all of that. Now, the issue with this, though, is that not too long after this, Venus is going to trine Neptune because, you know, that's what she's going to do. But because of that, Neptune is, you know, potentially putting this gloss over Venus. And so you could start having some rose-colored glasses about friendships and relationships and all of that. It could definitely be an intoxicating time socially, but also, I will say, somewhat of a toxic time. So you want to be careful of this. Why I'm saying that is that Venus will oppose Pluto as she moves into Leo. The exact opposition's happening on the 17th. So from the 13th to the 17th, I would be a little bit weary of doing anything that you may feel is unhealthy. And the reason I say this is because Pluto's in your 5th house, Venus is in your 11th house. I could totally see this for some Libra risings. I mean, some of you will resonate with this, some of you may not. It's just a metaphor, so don't take it so seriously. But I could totally see some of you Libra risings, like, you know, maybe you're going through this time where you're like, hell yes, maybe I've accomplished something in my career and now I'm celebrating with my friends. And you go through this celebration phase, right? It's like hot girl summer, right? You go to a concert or a party or an event or something, and then you meet some person, Pluto in the 5th, right? You meet some random person, and maybe it ends up creating some, you know, issues because, I don't know, maybe you flirt with this person, maybe you hook up with this person, and then, you know, if you do have a significant other, it could be like, well, what the F, right? Or for some of you, it could be like you hook up with this person, but then it's like, that was not really what I wanted to do, or that wasn't the right move. Or because Saturn rules your 5th house of Aquarius, this could still be your partner. So maybe you're going out and celebrating, and maybe it's like a good time and all of that, but potentially it's also creating some kind of power struggle with the person that you're with, or with a relationship that you're in. Maybe there are certain goals, hobbies, things that you need to be focusing on, but you're also trying to like have fun and celebrate and live your life. And so there could be a power struggle here that is affecting you socially, and that is affecting you in your love life or with your heart, or something along those lines that could really come up right around that Venus-Pluto opposition from like the 13th to the 17th. So just be wary of that. Or maybe you party a little bit too hard, and and then you feel like, I shouldn't have done that, or something along those lines. Maybe you put yourself out there, but inside you kind of feel like, a bit rejected by certain people in your life or something, or maybe you're trying to fit in too hard or something along those lines. So I would just be kind of on the lookout for things like that around that time frame. Now, moving on from that, we are then going to have Venus trine Saturn. So it looks like whatever happens with that Venus-Pluto opposition eventually comes into Venus trining Saturn, which then is kind of like, okay, it's time to mature, or it's time to learn a certain lesson here, so I can move forward. For some of you, this could even be like maybe your partner is hanging out and doing things that you don't approve of, and it's causing you to feel a bit rejected, something like that. There's so many different ways this could play out, you guys, but I'm just kind of naming them as they come to me. But anyway, so just like, there is going to be this kind of like sobering, okay, what do I really find fun? What's really important to me? What do I really want out of my social relationships and my social life here? That's going to really be coming into kind of the stratosphere for you. So anyways, moving on from that, we're then going to have Mars moving into Gemini. And that's going to be a really big deal because Mars is going to conjunct Uranus. And when Mars conjuncts Uranus in Gemini, this is a really erratic, restless, chaotic, unstable force that's happening here. Now, this is in your 9th house, so this could be, it may not be so literal for you unless you literally have personal planets right here, but it could be more so like something changing, or you changing your mind in terms of an educational pursuit, a college pursuit, a travel pursuit. I definitely would say be a bit careful with travel and stuff at this time because of this Mars-Uranus conjunction. It's definitely unpredictable and surprising and can throw a lot of curveballs. And so I would definitely be a bit careful around that time, really traveling, especially far away and especially on an airplane. With it being in Gemini. And I'm not trying to scare people. I'm just saying like that would be a very literal explanation of this energy. Electricity, things like that as well. So I would be very careful of, any kind of just endeavors that are risky, or social endeavors that are risky. There could be something going on socially, politically, with belief systems that are really triggering you around this time, or belief systems that you're changing that are out of nowhere, like changing for you rapidly. You could be going through like a whole, restructuring, reinvention of like your views and your beliefs on the world and how you see the world and things like that around this time. Now, Mercury is going to retrograde in Cancer right around the same time in your 10th. And so this really makes me think that you're making success in your career and potentially in educational pursuits as well. But there's also somewhat of a rethinking or reflecting going on here. Because Mercury retrogrades on the 29th, which is only a day after Mars moves into Gemini and starts conjuncting Uranus, that conjunction will be exact on July 4th. So from the 28th to July 4th, we're going to have that Mars-Uranus conjunction coming in. And Mercury is the ruler of that. And with Mercury in, your 10th house going retrograde at this time, whatever is changing, we're also like reflecting on. We're also not completely clear about it. And whatever's changing could be like, affecting you emotionally. you know, and you just want to, like, I wouldn't take any quick action around this time. I would really think about it. When Mercury retrograde ends, which will be in like July, like, you know, around 3 weeks or so from the 29th, that is when I would, you know, start taking action. But if like you start going through this change of heart, change of mind about certain things in your career, education, things like that, belief systems, I wouldn't do anything permanent yet until that Mercury retrograde is over, because you could change your mind again. So just be on the lookout for that. Be aware of that. You may start rethinking things, having a change of heart, and want to take like immediate action and destabilize everything, and then you could change your mind again. So I would just say, you know, wait till after the Mercury retrograde to take any kind of new action towards something, okay? Now, for some of you, this could be going back, you know, and just getting more learning in for your career or something, or going back and learning more in some way, shape, or form, you know, like something like that. And that would be fine. Anything that involves kind of like reversals, reflecting, redoing something, you know, that is fine for a Mercury retrograde. It's just doing something new. Like if you've been a freaking nurse your whole life, I feel like a lot of Libra risings end up working in like, you know, nursing because of that Cancer 10th house. But like if you've been like a nurse your whole life, for some of you, like, and let's say out of like you finally just finished like schooling or something for it and all of that, and then let's say all of a sudden, you know, as Mars Uranus conjunction hits and you're like, holy crap, is this the right field for me? Like, I don't really know. I don't know if I really want this anymore. And then Mercury goes retrograde and you're just like rethinking it and you're like, oh, I don't know, like this might be too much, or this might be too overwhelming for me, or whatever. It wouldn't be a good time to like just all of a sudden quit your job and go like be a full-time content creator, right? Unless you have Mercury retrograde in your chart, then it's fine. But if you don't have Mercury retrograde in your chart, this probably isn't a good time to go start something brand freaking new out of nowhere, okay? Now, this could be a good time to first reflect, see how you feel through the Mercury retrograde, see how you feel once Mercury stops retrograding and moves forward, and then see what you want to do. Or this would be a good time to be like, you know what, I thought I only wanted to go to school for this, and now I want to go back and further my education. Like, it would be a great time for that. So just keep that in mind. And last but not least, we're going to then have Jupiter moving into Leo at the very end of the month on June 30th. Again, your 11th house. But as soon as it moves into Leo, it is again going to start its opposition with Pluto, which doesn't go exact until July, but we're going to be feeling it as soon as it moves in. So just be prepared. This is a huge explosive change in your social life, in what you want out of life, in your aspirations, in friend groups, in where you feel you belong, where you feel you fit in. You really could start feeling like you are maybe above some of the circles that you've associated yourself in, or maybe that you've outgrown some of the spaces that you've put yourself in. You could start, you know, feeling like you want to take the power into your own hands, or start, you know, creating more relationships, more friendships for yourself based on your interest, based on your true unique interests and hobbies and things that you like and stuff like that. Like, that could really be more of the theme that you really start noticing coming in here. I talked more in depth about this in my 2026 year ahead video, so if you want to go back and watch that, you totally can. But this is what I'm seeing for you, Libra Risings. Let me know down below how that resonated with you guys. Comment down below, sexy Libra Rising. If you stayed till here, I appreciate you guys, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye. Alrighty, Scorpio Risings, welcome to your June 2026 horoscope for the month ahead. Let's go ahead and pull up your chart here and take a look at it. So this month for you is really going to have a lot of squares back and forth from your 9th house to your 6th house. And so what I see here is that you may have been trying to like accomplish a lot going on, like in your health, wellness routine, diet, habits, environment, day-to-day responsibilities and tasks. But you may start needing to deal with some higher stuff, like your belief systems, like where you feel purposeful, like getting out of your comfort zone, like, you know, really focusing on what you truly believe about your life, your principles, all of that. And so what may start happening here is that if you haven't felt like you've made a ton of progress in your day-to-day life, you may start really reflecting on why that is. And if your beliefs and your perspective on life is really aligning with what you're doing on a day-to-day basis. Basically, are you walking the talk in your life? And so this could be a big theme of the month here. You know, and so with Mars in your 7th house as well for the most part of the month, you know, and ruling your 6th house and ruling your 1st house, there's been a large focus on other people. There's been a large focus on what's going on with others, what's going on in your relationships, etc. And so maybe there has been a bit less going on in your 6th house. So with Mars then moving into Gemini later this month, I think that's definitely going to change for you. You're kind of moving out of this like needing comfort and security in relationships and moving towards like, okay, what do I need to figure out here about my financial goals, where I'm going, what I want to do? And that's kind of how your chart is looking for the month of June. Like, what am I doing? What do I want to do? What do I believe in? You know, what do I want to learn more about? What attachments to certain beliefs do I have, and how are they affecting my daily rituals, you know, my daily routines, my daily tasks? Also, I think for some of you could be running into some like rules, regulations, or learning pursuits, learning endeavors to do with a job or to do with work or to do with health. And it could start to feel like maybe, you know, you're dealing with like some challenging situations, like, you know, you have like a heavy workload, but then they're also like, hey, we also need you to like take this, you know, go to this place and like take this workshop for like a whole day. And you're like, really? Like, I already have so much on my plate or something, you know? So something like that could happen for some of you guys too with that 6th and 9th house square. But I think a lot of it is like coming back into what you believe about your life, what you believe about where you're going, and how to really implement that on a day-to-day basis. You know, how to take action on it and not just let it be something that, you know, you're not really implementing, you know? And so I think that's going to be the big thing here, because Mercury literally on June 3rd is going to come in and square Neptune. And so you may really be faced with like, okay, where have I been telling myself these different stories or illusions that have really just been me procrastinating on the hard shit that I know I need to do for myself? You know, like something like that. And then, you know, Mercury will eventually square Saturn too on the 10th. And so it's like, okay, yeah, I have been like rejecting this thing or trying not to do this thing, and I'm spending more energy not doing it than I am doing it at this point. Or, you know, where, you know, are my beliefs and my feelings about doing it overriding just like the fact that I need to do it? Like, you know, something like that could really be going on here. So anyway, the other thing about this month is right around the 9th, Venus and Jupiter will come into their conjunction in Cancer. Now, Venus will be back in Cancer at this point. I know on my chart she's in Leo already, but Venus and Jupiter will come into their conjunction in your 9th. Now, this can be like kind of like a nice little opportunity to really appreciate the lessons that you've learned from Jupiter in your 9th over like the last year. So this could definitely be a time where you are coming back into like alignment with your beliefs, and then that triggers this like revelation of where you've not been living out those beliefs on like a day-to-day basis. Now, for others of you, this could even be that like, you know, you've been going to school for something, or you've been trying to get an education in something, but maybe like your actual job that you have on a day-to-day basis is demanding a lot out of you, so you're like, you know, doing this like work school balance thing. For others of you, maybe you're too caught up emotionally in what's going on in the world or what's going on in politics or religion or like whatever, that it's like distracting you from like your daily goals or something like that. So those are different ways that 9th, 6th house can really play out. Now, on top of that, we also are going to have Venus moving into Leo on the 13th. And this is going to be a really explosive transit. You know, Venus and Leo on our own would be great. It's in your 10th house, so there will start to be more of this desire to put more energy into your career and, you know, your future and your goals and your values and your purpose and your potential. Like, there will be this desire to start reaching your potential more. But the problem is that as soon as she moves into Leo, she goes head to head with Pluto. So she gets into this massive opposition with Pluto, which can be very explosive. So this could be a very confronting energy. I'm not going to lie. This could be a very confronting energy for you guys, Scorpio Risings, where you realize that what you want and what you need to face to get there are two different things. That to get to what you want, you will need to face certain fears. You will need to make big changes in your foundation with home life, family, personal life, your introverted self, and what you do behind closed doors. You will need to face where maybe you feel like internally like a reject. You know, you will need to face shit that makes you feel different or unloved or alienated. You will need to face the stuff that you try to hide or keep in the closet to be able to have the success, life, goals, etc., future that you want. To put yourself out there more, to really feel pleasurable, free, brave, authentic, to feel good about yourself and your life and where it's headed. And so this is kind of that turning point of June. You know, the first part of it is like you really coming to terms with like, you know, your higher beliefs about things and how they are, how they are challenging your day-to-day life, your day-to-day lifestyle, your job, health, routines, and tasks and duties, and where those things are challenging each other, are not out of alignment, or not really vibing right now. And then it's like, okay, well, if you can really secure that foundation on a day-to-day basis, change your routines or make space in your day-to-day life to like, you know, really practice what you preach and play out these beliefs that you have, then it's like, okay, well, from here, if I really want to reach my full potential, if I really want to, you know, be seen in my career, be seen in my goals, be seen in my future, all of that, then I need to face this, like, you know, these internal fears that are keeping me hiding from the world. Okay. I think this is a month where a lot of you are going to start getting glimpses of where you hide, or where certain chaotic family situations, internal situations, are causing you to not go after what you want in life, or where certain, you know, battles, internal battles with yourself, are causing you to not go after what you want, or where you're attracted to chaos and it's keeping you from what you want. You know, those are, I think, a lot of the things that as Scorpio Risings you will be facing this month, with this huge opposition in your 10th and 4th house, you know. And so you may have to change some things in your home life, change some things in your family, change some things, you know, internally, personally, privately, to really go after what you want and to face some fear, you know. But this month can give you the courage to do that. Okay? It's giving you that, you know, higher outlook, that higher belief system again, and it's showing you what you really want out of life. And it's showing you exactly what needs to be faced, the shadow that needs to be alchemized to get there. So let me know down below if that's relating with you guys so far, Scorpio. So let's go ahead and move on to the next thing, which is basically right after that, Venus trines Saturn. Okay, so right after that opposition, she starts trining Saturn, which really shows that whatever she faced during that opposition is now being solidified. It is now giving her the solidity in her day-to-day life, day-to-day routines, health schedule, to feel confident enough to go after what she wants. So that's you guys basically, right? Like you're feeling a bit more steady, a bit more responsible in your day-to-day duties and routines if you can face those fears and face the things that I've been talking about. And then from that, you start gaining the confidence to really go after your career, or feel like you are creating the foundations for it. Okay. So moving on from that, the next big thing is that Mars will move into Gemini and then immediately conjunct Uranus. And I mentioned this briefly earlier. This is your 8th house of finances, investments, debt, taxes, things like this. So you could notice these topics starting to become more of a focus. What do you want to do financially? What do you want to learn financially? This Mars-Uranus conjunction is a very erratic, restless energy. It could also start bringing up you desiring to face certain fears and phobias and break out of internal mental boxes that have maybe kept you stuck in a certain financial situation. So this can be very good for that if you want to reinvent yourself wealth-wise, financial-wise, if you want to learn new things, if you want to, you know, spread out, create more, you know, streams of income or whatever. This can be absolutely freaking fabulous for that. It can also break you off from other things that are no longer in alignment with you, like things that are keeping you feeling stuck, trapped, whatever the case may be. And so you could start really getting into like educating yourself with Mercury going retrograde the day after Mars moves into Gemini on the 29th, in Cancer, and Mercury ruling your 8th, being in your 9th, you could really start deciding that you want to start educating yourself, or some of you may want to go back to school and really start figuring out how to kind of make a big change financially with yourself. You could invest in learning something new, or invest in a new potential, or reinvest in something that you've tried before. It probably wouldn't be a great idea to take brand new action right around this time, because again, Mercury is going retrograde the day after this. And so usually Mercury retrogrades are not a good time to take brand new action. And with Mercury ruling this transit, I feel like that's going to be really hard for most people. I think this Mars Uranus energy is like going to be this really frantic, itchy energy, this urge of just like, just do it, you know, like cut it off, break out of the box and just do it. And honestly, if that's what you're feeling intuitively, if that's what it feels right for you, make sure you're not being like emotional about it with Mercury and Cancer. Make sure it's not just being driven from like a trigger or an emotion that's going to eventually fade. But do what feels right for you, boo. Okay. But astrologically speaking, typically it's not a great time to, you know, take new action. So just keep that in mind. So last but not least, oh, and for some of you, this could also be that, you know, you want to potentially break free, and it may not just be financially. It could be resource wise. It could be from a relationship. It could be from like an old routine, an old habits, old health related stuff, old, you know, just whatever the case may be, with Mars ruling your 1st and 6th house, right? There could be a lot of other things that this could be as well. So just keep that in mind. But last but not least, we're going to then have Jupiter moving into Leo in your 10th house. Okay, now this is really positive for some reasons, and also going to be very life-changing and extreme in other ways. So what I mean by that is, like, number one, Jupiter and Leo in your 10th house is going to be great for really showing you, again, where you want to grow and be seen in this area of life, where you want to grow your character, where you want to grow who you are in your career, where character development kind of thing, like where you want to grow success, where you want to grow for your potential, where you want to grow into, you know, being seen more, putting yourself out there, going after your goals, going after your future, like, you know, putting yourself out there and being seen, you know. But it is going to oppose Pluto as well. And so this Pluto opposition definitely, I think, will be a lot stronger than the Venus-Pluto opposition. This is really shaking things up. This is like, you can no longer hold on to these old fears, this old foundation that's creating lack or toxicity or loss or whatever in your life. It's like, you can no longer hide. So it's like really pushing you to really empower yourself, to really like transmute all this old past internal hidden energy and come out and just explode with it. Like literally basically implode, but in a good way. Okay. This can be very motivational, very empowering if you can let it be. If you can face whatever it brings up, if you are up for the challenge and you're like, I want to use this power to make a difference in the world and to live up to my potential and to know who I really am and grow and you know, find myself in this mission. Like, if you accept this mission, it can change your life. Okay, so keep that in mind. But it may involve, again, making changes, transforming your 4th house area of home, family, personal life. Okay, so that is what I'm seeing for you, Scorpio Risings. Let me know down below how you're feeling about all of that, what you think some of this stuff could be for you. I'd really love to hear feedback down below. Comment down below. Sexy Scorpio Rising, if you watch till here, I appreciate you guys, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye. Alrighty, Sag Risings. Welcome to your horoscope for June 2026 for the month ahead. Let's go ahead and pull up your chart and look at it and see what the hell is going on here. So this month we have quite a lot going on in this whole side of your chart. So there's a lot of focus on your external world, other people, relationships, what you share with other people, your love life, and your job and routines and day-to-day tasks, and your beliefs, education, and travel pursuits. So there's a lot going on here, you know, where you are focusing on your external life a lot more. And I think that this month in June, you run into some tension, especially with some of the squares we'll have this month with Cancer and Aries. And, this is your 8th and your 5th house. And so what may be going on here is that you've been really potentially focused on what you love, your heart's desires, your hobbies, like really getting shit done with the things that you love, with the things that you're passionate about. But there may be some issues or struggles that you run into financially, or with investments, or with financial things that you owe, or that other people owe to you, shared resources, shared assets with others. There could be a bit of emotions involved in this as well, with Cancer being your 8th house. This may get a bit emotionally messy at times. The reason I say that is because this month we have Mercury squaring Neptune right as the month starts. And so this is really telling me that something that you may have thought was going to go down may not be going down the way that you thought it was. Something that you maybe expected is a bit different, or there's a big question mark around it. It's like, well, don't know about that. So maybe like a contract or something all of a sudden comes back up, and it's like, oh wait, I didn't know that. I didn't see that. It's like something kind of in your blind spot that just kind of triggers you and makes you realize that you weren't seeing things the way that you thought you were seeing them. It's not a huge deal. It's not like the end of the world, so don't worry. The next transit after that, we have Venus and Jupiter coming into their conjunction. This will happen in Cancer before Venus moves on the 9th. And so this is typically a good conjunction in astrology. And with this happening in your 8th, even though there could be something, going on, it's a little bit funky here, not exactly how you expected, or not exactly how you thought it would go, there is some kind of opportunity here still. There is some kind of like silver lining. Maybe it's like you finally finishing something financial that you've been working on, or maybe like one door closes, another one opens kind of thing. It's like maybe you realize something you invested in wasn't what you thought it was, but now you get to be free of that thing. Maybe you get to break out of the contract, and then it's like, okay, cool, like at least I'm free of that thing. Like you're able to still potentially find something to appreciate about it, even though it may not be exactly what you wanted or expected at the time. The next square is Mercury and Saturn, which happens on the 10th of June. Okay, so this one is going to be probably a little bit more difficult. First one's kind of like, I don't really know, or this isn't really what I thought it was. But this one's kind of like, okay, maybe you get some kind of notification, become aware of something, a conversation, something happens, and it's not exactly up to your standards, or it's not exactly going to happen in the time frame that you wanted it, or as fast as you wanted it, or something like that. And honestly, this may be you with Saturn in your 5th house. This may be you needing to set a boundary here. Like this may be like you needing to be like, okay, no, that's not what I want. Okay, like you may be turning something down, and you first realize it wasn't what you expected, but you're like, you still have some hope, or you still have some faith, there's a silver lining to it, but then you're like, no, that's not going to work. And so there's something here where you are realizing there's some kind of challenge between what you want, your desires, having fun, what you want to do, your hobbies, your passions, and financial situations, okay, or contracts, agreements, shit with other people. It's not working out in some way there a little bit this month. So on the 13th, we'll then have Venus moving into Leo, your 9th house. So this can definitely feel really good for new learning endeavors, travel pursuits, things like that, but not at first, because she's going to oppose Pluto down in your 3rd. And so what this could be is like you really kind of coming into a potential situation where you feel like you want to change something in what you're doing, in your day-to-day routines, lifestyle, and like the systems, the ways that you do things. But then you're also feeling this kind of opposition from maybe other people, or maybe what the world is doing, or maybe what the world is thinking, or maybe what other people's ideals. Like I definitely could see this being some kind of like, not necessarily debate, but like feeling like the way that you do things is now potentially being like, you're now seeing that like, oh, Other people are not doing things the same way. Does that make me different? Does that make them wrong and me right? Or like what, right? Like something like that. I totally could feel like could happen for a lot of you. But even more than that, I feel like some of you guys could start really feeling pulled to maybe a new area, or maybe traveling, or maybe a new educational pursuit, but you feel like you have so much going on in your day-to-day life, or you feel like there's certain fear there because of like all the things that you already have going on in where you're at now, or in your day-to-day life in some way. And so again, there's kind of this push and pull, this kind of power struggle between your higher mind and your quote unquote lower mind. And that doesn't mean lesser or whatever. It's just like, okay, this is what's going on around me versus what I feel called to. Okay. And that's kind of the thing here. Are you willing to face some of the fear that you have about your surroundings, or what's going on around you, or what you're doing on a day-to-day basis, to figure out what you really want? You know, I think that's going to be the thing here. So moving on from that, the next big thing that we have happening in June is we're going to have Mars moving into Gemini. Okay. Now this is a big deal because when Mars moves into Gemini on the 28th, it's going to immediately conjunct Uranus. Okay. And this is going to be a crazy effing transit. This is like freaking rolling the dice. Like, you know, it is absolutely crazy. This is like taking a big risk, high stakes, dramatic, erratic, restless, anxious, all over the place, freaking energy. Now, for you, it is happening in your 7th house. And I'm just going to say, this seems to be a month that could be focused on relationships for you if you're a Sagittarius rising. Just because we have a lot of squares going on to your 5th house, which can also be your love life. But also we have, you know, this Mars-Uranus conjunction happening in your 7th house. And so if you're in a relationship, it could get a bit chaotic towards the end of this month. I'm not going to lie. Maybe your partner goes through something that is just so crazy, so wild, so out there. Or maybe they make a decision, like a split decision out of nowhere to like change something really big. I would recommend that you don't change anything very big right around this time, even though it may be very hard for a lot of people. Like you may feel this like sudden urge to just uproot everything. For some of you, this could even be, you may feel this sudden urge to change your relationship, you know, like this could literally be like, you know what, I'm changing this relationship. Or your partner could change the relationship, or your partner could make a change, you know, just out of freaking nowhere. It could be like a bolt of lightning, you know, like that's what Uranus is. It's like surprising. But the thing about this is that Mercury is retrograding the day after this conjunction, or the day after Mars moves into Gemini, and the conjunction is not even exact. It doesn't get exact until around July 4th. So from the 28th of June to July 4th, this conjunction's happening. And Mercury goes retrograde on the 29th. And Mercury rules your 7th house. Mercury retrograde in the 8th. This really tells me if you have a roommate, if you're in a relationship, if you're in a business partnership, there is going to be potentially some drama. I'm sorry to tell you. Some potential chaos, okay? Now, for some of you, the lighter side of this could just be like, you know, maybe your partner or your business partner has some drama and they have to, you know, it involves their finances in some way. Maybe it's your partner's finances that's going through this. Maybe it's not necessarily yours, right? But either way, if you share shit with them, it's still going to affect you, you know? So, but with the 8th and 7th involved, that usually is not, it's usually indicative that like there's something going on, especially when it's like, you know, Mars and Uranus and a Mercury retrograde in your 8th ruling it. Like it definitely feels like something out of nowhere, something shocking, something surprising, something out of left field that could really change the way finances are intersected, or change the way you go about finances with another person, or go about agreements or resources or assets or whatever. So keep that in mind. It's not the end of the world. Doesn't mean everybody that's a Sag rising is going to go through some kind of breakup, so don't make it a big effing deal. Like, it's not something you need to worry about or give your power to here. If you truly feel like you're in a good place in your relationship, then it probably will be something else, right? So keep that in mind, like be sovereign and all that shit, right? So anyway, so that is Mars Uranus conjunct. I mean, if you're not in a relationship, this could really be like a business partnership, a roommate, other people in your life. Maybe people just start like blowing you up out of nowhere and they're like, hey, can you help me out? It could totally be Mercury and Cancer in the 8th. Hey, I need some money. Hey, I need some support right now. Like, my life is falling apart. Like, a tornado just, like, freaking went through my whole town and my job and like, it's just, like, crazy shit. Like, random crazy freaking shit. That's just, like, how is this even happening right now? So, like, you know, think about it like that. It could be that for some of you. But either way, there's definitely something getting shaken up in the relationship department, okay? There's definitely something getting shaken up there this month. It could be a small shakeup. It could be a bit, like, Uranus is so unpredictable, so I can sit here and give you as many, you know, potentials as it could be, but at the end of the day, like, you're never going to really, truly nail down Uranus. It's so unpredictable. So anyway, especially for every Sag rising watching this, like, no. So yeah, Mercury retrogrades in Cancer. There will definitely be a redo, a going back, a reflecting on your financial matters, financial situations, and who's involved in them. And then also, last but not least, we will have Jupiter, your ruling planet, moving into Leo. Yes. Okay, so Jupiter will move out of your 8th house at the very end of the month, leaving you to deal with all your 8th house shit yourself. I'm just kidding. And then it will move into Leo, and it will be like, yo, like, let's, you know, find God and, like, live up to our potential and shit. And so Jupiter moving into your 9th house is definitely going to be, like, pushing you towards some expansive endeavor, something that feels like an adventure, something that feels like I want to be brave, I want to be courageous, I want to put myself out there. Again, with Venus first opposing Pluto and moving into Leo, you started to see, like, okay, I kind of want this thing, but can I really have it because of all this chaos going on in my life, or all these moving parts in my day-to-day reality, my day-to-day lifestyle, my day-to-day routines, the tasks that I'm doing on a day-to-day basis. When Jupiter moves in, it's like, bitch, it's time, okay? Like, if you start really, like, it's like, Jupiter's like, okay, look, there's this bigger picture going on here. There's this bigger picture you're wanting to move towards, something else you're wanting to really sink your teeth into, something else that you're really wanting to learn, something that's going to really help you expand into your potential. And it's like, to do that, you've got to make changes. You've got to face things. Like, you know, it's going to really push you to be, like, you know, more authentic, more yourself, you know, all of that jazz. So that's going to be really, really important for this Jupiter in Leo transit. Pride, integrity, honor, especially in what you know, okay? Especially in what you know, what you're learning, your intelligence, your knowledge, your wisdom. So that's going to be the name of the game with that. That is what I'm seeing for you guys, Sag Risings. Let me know down below if that resonated with you or what you feel like is coming for you in June. I'd love to know your interpretation of all of this shit that's happening. Let me know down below. Comment down below, sexy Sag Rising, because you are. I appreciate you, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye. Capricorn Risings, welcome to your June 2026 horoscope for the month ahead. I hope you guys are good. Let's get into it. I'm going to pull up your chart on the screen here so that we can both look at it and see what the hell's going on for you. So this month is a month where there is definitely going to be a bit of a challenge, which isn't always a bad thing, okay? Sometimes we like to be challenged, okay? Sometimes it feels like it is just good to be challenged, you know? Sometimes, like, we want to challenge ourselves. When everything's, like, too good, it can get kind of boring, you know? And I'm not saying that that's necessarily where you're at right now. I'm just saying that challenge can be a good thing. So don't take this the wrong way. This could go so many different ways, but there's going to be something going on that may be a little bit tense between your 4th house and your 7th house, okay? Your relationships and your home, family, private life, all right? That is what is going on a lot this month. We're going to have Mercury moving through and squaring Neptune and Saturn and Aries. We're going to have then the Sun moving through Cancer, squaring Neptune and Saturn and Aries. So we're going to have, on and off in June, a lot of squares from Cancer, your 7th house of relationships, to Aries, your house of home, family, and personal life. So you could be dealing with a moody partner this month. I'm not going to lie to you. You could be dealing with a bit of a crabby pants, all right? There could be some confrontation or conflict about who's wearing the pants at home and who is leading this ship here, okay? So just be aware of that. Your partner may be like PMSing on and off the whole month of June. So, but it's going to be okay. All right. And there may be a back and forth between like, I just want alone time or personal time to myself versus like my partner needs me or needs my attention or wants to spend time with me or like whatever. Like there may be kind of like a push and pull between like maybe you are trying to like, you know, be in your own little cave and your partner's like, you never spend time with me, I'm so emotional, I had such a bad day, you know, like, and so you're like going back and forth between like trying to be there for your partner but also trying to like do your own thing and have some privacy. And you know, great, understandable, right? Could be something as small as that. For some of you it could be your partner is trying to communicate with you know, you about home matters, family matters, and it's just you don't care, you know, maybe you don't see it the same way. Or maybe your partner is causing issues at home or with the family or whatever. Maybe they're, you know, whatever. It's like there could be topics around boundaries with families as well. You know, that could be something too. Now, if you don't have a partner, this could literally just be other people in your life, family members, just other people in general. It's like you could really feel like so many people are bringing their like emotional problems to you this month with all this Cancer energy, or just PMSing on and off all month, and you're like, bro, can I just like hang out at home and be alone, you know, like can I just like crawl into my hole and not be bothered? So either way, whether it's a partner or not, like replace it with just other people in your life. There's gonna be this kind of push and pull between like, you know, being there for your partner versus, you know, home and private life stuff, you know, and that can come up in so many other ways that I didn't even mention, but we'd be here forever if I tried to, you know, come up with every potential this could be. So, but I think you get the point. Those are just different ways it can play out, different metaphors. But basically, we start the month off with Mercury squaring Neptune. So something could not be up to somebody's expectation in the home life or, you know, something like that. Maybe yours and your partner's vision for the home life is not the same. Maybe you feel like they're not seeing things very clearly, or things are, you know, they have certain expectations that you feel are a bit unrealistic or something like that. It could feel like you are starting to see other people differently in your life, or you are starting to kind of see that like, okay, what I envision for myself in my private life may not be congruent with some of the other people in my life in some way, shape, or form right now. Now, on the 9th, though, we do have a more positive transit, which is Venus and Jupiter coming into their conjunction in Cancer. And so usually this is a more positive transit, but it is in your 7th house of relationships and other people. So it can be kind of an opportunity to be affectionate, compassionate, understanding with your partner, or even your partner being affectionate, compassionate, understanding with you. It's definitely a really great transit for that. Being appreciative, being understanding, you know, all of that stuff can really, really be helpful during that time. You know, Venus is kind of walking Jupiter through this last transition in Cancer as it moves into Leo. So in a lot of ways, this is like, you know, Venus and Jupiter coming together to kind of maybe have some last lessons or revelations in your 7th house about relationships and etc. This could also be you accepting that maybe there are certain relationships in your life that have needed to fall away, or that you are no longer happy with or fulfilled with, and that's okay too. It's gonna be outgrowing certain situations and relationships for some of you, not all of you, but some of you. And then also on the 10th, we will have Mercury squaring Saturn in your 4th house, which can definitely be some communication barriers with relationships with your partner going on around the home and family sector. Okay, so just kind of be on the lookout for that. It could involve your 6th house of, you know, routines, job, health, work, duties, responsibilities. Maybe your partner's just bitching at you because they want you to do more around the whole house, you know, like, I don't know. Could totally be that too for some of you. You know, maybe you're trying to relax and have more fun. I forgot Mars is in Taurus actually at this first big chunk of the month, but maybe you're trying to just relax and chill and have more fun and find some pleasure, but your partner's like expecting you to come home and be like G.I. Joe, or, you know, get more done around the house, or, you know, work on a home project together, or whatever the case may be. Either way, there's definitely some tension there with, again, relationships and home life this month. So moving on from that, Venus will then move into Leo, into your 8th house. And yeah, there will definitely be more of a focus on money, on investments, on your financial situations, on wealth, and where you want to start really putting your energy into certain areas of life, what you want, what's going to fulfill you in these certain areas of life. Now, the problem with this is Venus will also be coming into her opposition with Pluto from the 13th to the 17th. So this definitely can be like what maybe other people want, okay, or what your partner wants, or whatever, could be conflicting with what you have to offer, or the resources, or, you know, even certain fears or situations that you're facing financially with assets and resources and finances and priorities and stuff. And there could be this kind of like push and pull power struggle between what you want to achieve for yourself financially versus, you know, you finding the will or the resources to do that. So that could be part of it, you know, like you could definitely be like, okay, I need to make some changes in my resources or in my finances if I want to get to where I want to go. I need to make some big transformations, make some big shifts, make some big transitions if I really want to get to my desires, you know, especially financially. So that definitely could be some of the stuff that you're seeing come up. It could also be related back to the home and family stuff, since Pluto is going to be ruled by Saturn. And it could be related back to the relationship stuff, since Venus is going to be ruled by the Sun, being in Leo. So this really could come back to that whole, you know, home, family, relationship thing as well. You know, there could be some tension or a power struggle, conflict around your partner's money versus your money, or whatever the case may be. So moving on from that, I guess if you're not a relationship this month, you may not have as much to worry about, although it still will affect you in some way financially. Like you still may have some things to overcome financially, but it would more so be related to yourself or related to any other people that you're involved with financially. So moving on from that, Mars is going to move into Gemini and immediately conjunct Uranus in your 6th house. So this is really the game changer. This is the shake up of June. Moving into July, from June 28th till July 4th, this is going to be a really potent transit. This is really changing a lot of things. You could undergo a huge change in your work life. You could undergo a huge change in your lifestyle, your routines, you know, your diet, how you take care of yourself, your day-to-day responsibilities, duties, and habits. Like this is a really big game changer. You could finally decide to quit certain things, to reinvent yourself. You could like come back from, you know, I don't know, not come back, but break free from something that's been holding you back. Like this is a really big shake up, lightning bolt kind of transit, and it's being ruled by your 7th house. And so, because Mercury is the ruler of Gemini, and Mercury is going retrograde the day after on the 29th. And so not only is this shakeup going on in your habits, your work, potentially your job, like out of nowhere, you could just like, I don't know. For some people, it could be like an out of nowhere promotion that you have waited forever for. For some of you, it could be like, you know what? You could get the random urge to just fucking quit. I don't know if I would though, since Mercury goes retrograde the very next day. That might not be a bright idea. For some of you, you could decide to quit certain habits or break free and liberate yourself from certain habits, addictions, diets, like things like that. There's some kind of like higher intelligence mixed with this like game-changing, like almost like defiant but direct, I'm gonna do it kind of energy that's coming in here in this area of life. And that is somehow also still affecting your partner or your relationships with other people in some way, shape, or form. And that you will be reflecting on into July. Okay, so just keep that in mind. This can be a really great time for breaking old habits, breaking out of old patterns, cycles, you know, really all of that. But there could be like some kind of, not explosion, literally, but like some kind of you know, crazy chaotic situation that happens at your job or with coworkers or like something like that, you know. So just be on the lookout for the end of the month with that Mars Uranus conjunction in Gemini. Okay, so moving on from that, last but not least, we're gonna have Jupiter moving into Leo, which is your 8th house, as a Capricorn rising. So Jupiter moving here is definitely going to want to help you grow in this area of your life. It's going to want to help you grow in your finances, your investments, and you know what you're doing financially. And so with Jupiter here, though, again, as soon as it moves in, it's going to start squaring or opposing Pluto, and it's going to be opposing Pluto until July. Okay, like in July it comes exact. So it's going to be opposing Pluto for quite a few weeks, and this is a very extreme transit as well. There's a lot of extreme transits like all happening around the same time, like game-changing transits. So, I mean, it could be like, you know, something big changing at your job, and then now something big changing with your financial situation. It could be, you know, you really taking the power back in your financial situation and deciding you're no longer going to keep giving your power to certain things or doing something a certain way. You creating more systems for yourself, more streams of income. You know, deciding to go after what you feel is your potential financially. Power struggles, finding your power, like all these things are really going to come into play at the end of the month. So be on the lookout for them. Let me know down below, Capricorn Rising, how that resonated. Comment down below, sexy Capricorn Rising, if you stayed till here, because you are. I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. And I will see you guys in the next one. Bye. Alrighty, Aquarius Rising, welcome to your June 2026. Why did I only say 2024? What the hell? Welcome to your June 2026 horoscope for the month ahead. You are just in time of me finding out that my mic has been off this whole fucking time. And I was literally just freaking out. I was like, oh my God, is the volume in there? Because like I had one part of it plugged in, but not the other part of it plugged in. So I was like, oh my God, please tell me I didn't just get like over halfway through this fucking monthly video and there was no, like, I was gonna give up. I really was gonna give up at that point because holy shit, I've been doing this for hours. Okay, gonna go ahead and press record now. Bring your chart up on the screen here. As you can see, we have this month a lot of on and off tension going on between your 3rd house and your 6th house. So there's a lot going on in like your lifestyle and your day-to-day errands, your day-to-day personal life, but there's also a lot going on from work, at your job, or with health, or with your routines. Honestly, it can feel like this month you're running into some, you know, potential delays, setbacks in June. Like they're not like the end of the world, but it can feel like you're being a bit like, you know, like you're I don't know, like you go to run an errand and then you get there, and by the time you get there you realize that like you had the wrong time and you're actually supposed to be there like the day before, like shit like that, you know. And it's not like the end of the world, right? It's not like it's gonna be to the extreme, but it can definitely, with the 6th and the 3rd, just create some tension between what you're trying to do and get done on a day-to-day basis in your life and the other stuff that you have to do. Like both of these houses are similar in a way because they both deal kind of with our day-to-day lives and what we're doing in our day-to-day lives. So you could just run into a lot of like, okay, I want to be doing this for myself, but I don't know, maybe work or employees or whatever like need my like attention or my support, but I'm over here trying to do this thing for me, or I'm trying to focus on my goals and the things I need to do in my personal life. I can't keep, you know, supporting, you know, other people or other things. So this may definitely be a month where you have to set some boundaries with work or with coworkers or, you know, with other people in your life that are like, that can start to feel like they're almost like your child, you know? And so it's like, okay, you're not my child, you know, if they're not your child, and I have things to do, or I have to like block off this time on my schedule. Schedules are going to be a big deal this month. Just errands, tasks, duties, responsibility, all that is going to be a really big deal this month. Appointments, things like that. And you could just run into some tension because, you know, as soon as we start June, on June 3rd, Mercury's going to be squaring Neptune. So that could be a day where you're feeling a little bit like, okay, this is not what I expected. Or, you know, I'm trying to get in the zone and get in the vibe over here in my life, but I've got, you know, work blowing up my phone or sending me a bunch of emails or like whatever, you know, something like that. And then also we're going to have Mercury squaring Saturn in Aries on the 10th. So it's like you're trying to buckle down and do something you got to do, but it's like, you know, it's not quite working, or there's some delays or communication issues or something like that. So it's just like small little tedious stuff like that that can be kind of annoying in the moment, but you're not going to fucking remember it in like a year from now, that kind of thing. Okay. Now, moving on from that, the other big thing that we really have, you know, happening in June, or one of the other big things, is that Venus and Jupiter are going to come into their conjunction, and you're not going to see it on my screen because I have my date set to later in June, but Venus is going to move into a conjunction with Jupiter in Cancer on the 9th of June. And this is usually a harmonious energy in astrology, but while that's happening, Mercury is going to be squaring Saturn in your 3rd. So tedious shit, delays and stuff like that, communication barriers may be happening, but there's a silver lining, you know? So what I could see here is like, you feel like you have to delay something in your personal life because duty calls, whether it be work or whatever else. So you do that, you go focus on the duty that you have, but maybe you end up getting like a bonus or something for it, you know? Like, so it's like you face like the hard thing, you face the hard barrier, but there is like a silver lining to it. I also think that Venus and Jupiter conjunct in your 6th is kind of like the finale of this Jupiter and Cancer saga that we've been going through for the last year. So this could also be like you reflecting on the different lessons that you've learned with work, with coworkers, with health, with, you know, your lifestyle, diet, all these different things that you've learned, especially emotionally with Cancer here and energetically. And it could be you coming into this like appreciation or this compassion or this like gratitude or this higher perspective of the lessons that you've learned here, how to really, you know, be able to deal with your emotions and other people's needs and other people's emotions. And you know, it's a big fucking task. And so whatever you've learned with that in the last year is definitely kind of being wrapped up with this Venus-Jupiter conjunction on the 9th. So then on the 13th, Venus is going to move into Leo in your 7th house, babe. So the party is fucking on with people in your life or friends or relationships. It's definitely a good time to be around people that you find attractive, flirty, and fun, okay? The problem with this, because there is a problem with it, is that as soon as she moves into Leo, she's going to start opposing Pluto. It's going to happen from the 13th to the 17th. So this is definitely going to be a few day period that is intense, okay? Intense. You may feel pulled outside of yourself or by another person to do something that seems very alluring or that seems very attractive or that seems very admirable. And it may be, you know, I'm not gonna lie, it may be. Venus also trines Neptune in your 3rd. This could be a friend group, a relationship, a, you know, friendship. It really just could be anyone other than you, all right? And this could be a time where it's like, okay, like, you know, my friends are gonna go out, have this celebration and party. Maybe I should do it, but with the opposition to Pluto, it's like there's this pressure or this intensity or this feeling of like, do I need to change who I am? You know, do I need to shift who I am? Or maybe this could even be that like a friend does something and doesn't invite you and you feel kind of like a reject, you know, or you get invited, but then you go there and you feel rejected in some way, or you feel alienated in some way. So there's kind of this push-pull power dynamic tension between Venus and Pluto going on with yourself and with other people around this time. It could play out in a number of different ways. For some of you, this could be like you truly embracing who you are and having a fun time still anyway. For others of you, this could be like letting your freak flag fly and still, you know, having a fun time. You know, it's just going to be different for different people. There could also be like an attraction here to somebody, and it doesn't necessarily mean that it's bad or toxic, but it may feel like they're like, I don't know, with Pluto in your 1st, it's different because Pluto's in your sign. So, and Venus is outside of you. So she's almost like tempting you, like, come here, come to mama. Like, and so it's going to be definitely potentially you being tempted or something around this time. And, you know, it may not be a bad thing. I'm not necessarily saying it's a bad thing. For other signs, it probably is not going to be like the best thing ever just because Pluto, but Pluto's in your sign. So honestly, if there's chaos, it's you, babe. Like, you are the problem here. Okay, so I'm just kidding. If there's toxicity, it's likely gonna be coming from you. And so that's what I just would remember. It's like, okay, am I good enough with myself to do this? Am I going to be like a toxic mess, you know? Like, am I going to bleed on other people? And honestly, that could be the whole dilemma too. Like, you know, especially as an Aquarius rising, like you could start worrying too much about how you affect other people or like whatever. And then your friends are like, bitch, shut the fuck up and just come have fun. Like, what are you doing? Why are you overthinking this right now? Like, you know, so I don't know. It could be something small. It could be something big. Either way, for some of you, it could be like an ex returning, you know, an old friend returning, and you maybe having this like full circle moment of like empowerment in some way. So it's just going to be different for different ones of you, but you get the gist. Anyway, moving on from that, although we're going to have to come back to it in some way here in a little bit, we're then going to have Mars moving into Gemini and out of Taurus finally right around the 28th. Although, yes, it moves into Gemini, it also basically moves into a conjunction with Uranus. Now, this is a big deal, okay? This is like an explosion hitting power lines, you know? Like, it's that kind of energy. It's frantic, it's chaotic, it's unstable, it's restless. It is like drinking way too much caffeine or taking way too much Adderall and just being like, zzz, like that is this kind of energy. Luckily for you, it's in your 5th house. So it's usually kind of like, cool, like I can use this energy to fucking create some weird shit, you know, mad scientist kind of shit you could feel coming out of you. It is going to trine your Pluto in your 1st too. So, I mean, you could literally just start experimenting like with something new. And this would be a really great time to do it. You know, with all that energy. The issue is, though, I know there keeps being an issue here. I'm totally aware of that. That's basically this month, you know, it's like, you know, small little or big little, you know, big good thing and then annoying thing and then good thing and then annoying thing over and over again. But anyway, so the issue with this is that Mercury is the ruler of this conjunction, and Mercury goes retrograde the day after Mars moves into Gemini. So on the 29th, Mercury goes retrograde in Cancer. There's going to be a lot of reflection that you're doing with your job, work, day-to-day routines, health, and again, potentially, you know, coworkers. There seems to be a lot going on there this month anyway. So you may be reflecting on like your schedule or what you're doing there, or what, you know, conversations, or could be like a breakdown in technology that would be really big. And it's kind of pushing you to potentially feel like Albert Einstein with your creativity, which is really a good thing, you know. You know, maybe the electric goes out at your job or something and you're like, okay, well, I'm gonna sit in my house and fucking you know, like create some new crazy modern day invention here and like just, you know, freaking genius out over here, you know, like it could totally be cool. But basically, you may start feeling like you want to, you may want to take a break from some of your work stuff or your normal responsibilities. Or you could just go through a process of reflecting on it, rearranging it, redoing some things here. There could be some delays, setbacks, or just weird things going on with work and stuff like that. And it could relate to, okay, what do I really want? What am I really, you know, passionate about? And how can I strategize on what I want to do with that moving forward? You know, how do I want to change my life with that, you know? And so this is going to be really good, really big. I think this is a really great place to have this conjunction, honestly, in the 5th house. Again, I'd be careful of having a bit too much fun. Having a bit too much fun, going a bit overboard, getting a bit crazy, or taking a big risk. You want to be careful because too much fun could lead to an accident or lead to issues with job, health, and routine. So you just want to be kind of aware of that. But I would say that, you know, if you're just using this energy to like work on things that you're passionate about and whatever hobbies, this is a good use of that energy. Still be careful of accidents. Because they can be very big around Mars-Uranus conjunctions, and I'm not even lying. So just be wary of that. The next thing that we're going to talk about is Jupiter moving into your 7th house, okay? Finally moving out of Cancer. And then it's moving into your 7th house of relationships and other people. So there will be a lot of growth in this area over the next year. again, the problem with that is that it will oppose Pluto again, you know? So Venus just went through there, definitely showing you or changing the way that you know, Venus going through there as well could be like you realizing that you're not attracted to what you used to be attracted to. You having changes in what you are into, what you value in another person. With Jupiter moving into your 7th house and opposing Pluto in your first, this is like a whole new game. This is like a whole new perspective, really big life-changing lessons on relationships and identity. Really big, extreme, over the top, like, who do I want in my life? Who do I not? Who do I want to cut out of my life? Who do I no longer want to associate with? Like, this could be that kind of energy for some people. For other, like, because I could see Jupiter moving into Leo being like, you know, maybe a friend that you've had forever turns very dramatic and toxic, and it's just hard to like even be around or like deal with, and just wants all this attention like all the time, and you're like, it's like sucking you dry, you know, like, and that's the other thing too with Pluto on your sign. It could be that some of the relationships in your life start like physically draining you. Or this could also be a really positive thing in which you meet really powerful people in your life that really start helping you change, that start changing who you are and how you see yourself. Or that help you feel like you can become more you. So that's how I see this opposition. Let me know down below, Aquarius Risings, how that's relating to you so far and what you think may be coming up for you in the month of June. I'd love to hear your feedback down below. Comment down below, sexy Aquarius Rising, if this resonated. And if you'd like to see more of these, let me know. And I will see you guys in the next one. Alrighty, Pisces Risings, welcome to your horoscope for June 2026. I just realized I forgot to like have all this shit on my laptop ready before I started filming, but it's fine. I hope you guys are doing well. We are gonna go ahead and pull up your chart here so we can look at it together. June is a tricky month. It's not like a bad month necessarily. Like, there are some good things happening. It's not like, you know, the craziest thing ever. But there are some like annoyances, you know, like just some little like, like, okay, does that have to happen? You know, so there are some kind of like annoyances in June, some like good things followed by some like annoying things. And then there are like a few, I would say, really big things going on in June that really can shake everything up in our lives. And so for the first half of the month, at least, you know, somewhat, it's more kind of just small annoyances, and then for the second half it's like, you know, electrical, just erratic, you know, big changes that are starting to go down. So anyways, let's go ahead and start. So a lot of this month is really focused on Aries and Cancer squaring each other. A lot of the transits we're going to have moving through your Cancerian 5th house are going to be squaring the transits moving through your Aries 2nd. And so Mercury starts that off squaring Neptune basically right on the 3rd in your 2nd house of finances, assets, resources, your needs, priorities. You've been just trying to like get your shit together and like really focus and buckle down on your priorities and the things that you want to be doing. But Mercury's coming in to be like, yo, is it really what you expected? Is it really what you expected? You know, like, is it, what's going on with this? And so Mercury in your 5th can be like your child needing money for something and really just completely unaware of the fact that like you may not have that kind of money right now, or you may have it, but like they have no idea how much they're asking for, like something like that, right? It's like there's this like kind of illusion or delusion to it with Neptune square Mercury. It's like something's not really realistic, or something's not quite what we expected, or something's not lining up here. And so there could also be like, okay, I really want to like focus on what I love and what brings me joy, or like focus on my family and just like have fun and like relax, but there are certain financial matters that need to be dealt with, or there's something going on financially that like you've got to buckle down on, or something like that. And so there's just this kind of back and forth tension between your 2nd and 5th house here. Okay. It's like, oh, you know, my partner and I could like really use a date, but it's like, oh, well, we're financially struggling right now, or I'm trying to save for this thing, or I'm trying to like buckle down. And so you're kind of torn between like wanting to kind of have fun, or wanting to do things you wanna that would be more supportive for you and potentially your family or your loved ones or your partner, but like it's starting to feel like your financial goals or resource goals are kind of like, you know, they're rigid or they're strict right now, right? So that could be some of what you're noticing coming up in June. Now, the other thing happening here is that Venus will be back here in Cancer around this time, conjunct Jupiter, and this is happening right on the 9th of June. So this is usually and typically a good conjunction. They're the two benefics. So astrologically speaking, this is like a nice like energy. It's bringing a lot of harmony and benefic energy into the air. And so you could really be enjoying yourself or having more fun or learning to find the silver lining in things, you know, even though Mercury is squaring Saturn. So it's like maybe you find a way to have fun without spending a bunch of money, or with still, you know, being kind of frugal or responsible financially. So like, you know, maybe go on a picnic or something. Like that would be a good thing, you know, something like that. Like, so you can still enjoy yourself if you are really working hard to meet certain financial goals. Okay. But this is going to be the topic of the month, this back and forth drama between the 5th and the 2nd, whatever it is for you. The next thing is Venus moving into Leo, your 6th house. And so this is going to be really interesting because as soon as Venus moves into Leo, which is going to be really great for like work and confidence at work and self-expression at work and feeling creative and all of that jazz, as soon as she moves in here, she's going to oppose Pluto, unfortunately. And so she's going to be, you know, faced with potential alienation and rejection wounds, you know, fears, psychological, subconscious fears from the past, old cycles, old internal self-sabotage shit. You know, it's like, I want to like, you know, spice up my life, but I'm also like trying not to like have any more bad habits or something like that. That could be another way it plays out. So there could be something that you're going back and forth on. Again, it kind of really is. It's like, I want to have fun, or I want to enjoy myself, or I want to feel good about myself, but it feels like there's other things I also need to really establish or really focus on, or you know, there's deeper things, there's things that are more meaningful to me that I want to make sure that I don't neglect. And I think that's the big thing here, that we're really coming up against this month, especially for you as a Pisces rising. So moving on from that, the next big thing that is really happening this month is Mars is moving into Gemini and going to immediately square Uranus. So this is where you basically decide to just like uproot your fucking home, remodel it, like, I don't know, fucking get rid of it, whatever you want. Go live out in the wilderness. Like, I'm just kidding. But this is really a freaking crazy energy where like you or someone in your family, someone that you could live with could literally just randomly decide, like, we are changing freaking everything. Like, now we are rehauling all of this. And it could be great if you use that as like a project, you know, for yourself or for your family or for having fun, because Mercury rules this, and Mercury's in your 5th house of love and fun and, you know, all of this enjoyment that you're wanting to have, passions, hobbies, your love life, dating life, you know, children. So if this is all kind of, you know, blended together, you could really, you know, just find some fun family, new out of nowhere thing for you guys to do at home. Now, the issue with this, though, and where I would be careful with this Mars-Uranus conjunction, this is a lot of restless energy. This is a lot of random urges that may be fueled by emotion that may pass, okay? Because Mercury's the ruler of this, and Mercury's going retrograde on the very next day that Mars moves into Gemini. So Mercury's going retrograde on the 29th and will be retrograde through this whole conjunction. So this is not really a great time to be doing anything new. Redoing something, making changes, reinventing something, you know, that's already been done, like that's great. But doing something brand new, you know, it's not a great time for that. So like renovating your home, great time for that. Like, you know, freaking pulling out weeds in your yard and restructuring your yard, great time for that. You know, repainting the walls, great time for that. Now, if there are problems that you didn't know about or didn't fix, but you did know about, those could come up right now in your home, honestly. If you're a Pisces rising, I don't want to scare you or anything. I'm not trying to be a doom and gloom astrologer here. If you know of something going wrong in your home, especially if it's electrical, okay, that's where you really need to, you know, be sure, because this is Uranus, this is Mars, this is Gemini, this is air energy. So electrical, internet, you know, anything that you use to communicate, TVs, so anything you use to socialize, phones, computers, you know, these types of things could start having like inconveniences or could like have, you know, some issues. So that's something that I would say you want to be kind of like aware of, because this is just that kind of energy. Like Uranus is unpredictable, so we never know really for sure what Uranus could bring. Some of you could experience literally nothing. Like it could just be a day where you are feeling a bit like, you know, funny or something, you know, like where you, I don't know, you watch a comedy show with your family and nothing crazy or odd or strange happens. It could just be a few days of that. You know, I don't know. It's going to be going on from the 28th till July 4th. I would also be careful on the 4th of July, especially for you with this being at your home and family, you know, like, I would just be careful. It doesn't mean that you necessarily can't celebrate, but just be very, very aware of any accidents. If you can help it, maybe use, you know, safer fireworks, or don't use as big fire, go somewhere else and, you know, or watch them from your front yard, but don't like actually set them off, you know, or something like that. Like any way that you can be a bit safer. And again, I'm not trying to like doom and gloom here, but I really think that there's going to be a lot of like really crazy, you know, fireworks stuff this year with this happening on the 4th of July. But I don't know. I mean, it was in Taurus. We've had Mars-Uranus conjunctions in Taurus, I'm pretty sure, right around the 4th of July too. And nothing really happened then. But that was also Taurus. This is Gemini. This is the air. This is like fireworks. This is like, you know, anything to do with the air element. This, you know, so I feel like this is a lot more related to fireworks itself. So I don't know. It could just be symbolizing that like, hey, this is, it's just fireworks, you know. Just fire. It could just be that. So who knows? But I'm not telling you to like walk around in fucking fear for like that whole week that this is happening, or 5 days or whatever it is. I'm just saying, like, just be on the lookout. Be a bit just aware that we have a very crazy, chaotic, unpredictable energy at that time. So the more that you can play in the realm of logic and what you know to be true, the more that I think that will end up being a good thing for you. Okay. So anyways, and Mercury's in Cancer. Mercury rules this. Freaking Cancer is about safety, you know, playing it safe. This is a time where I think a lot of people do good to play it a bit safe, okay? Not in fear and freaking out and like everything else. Like, don't give your power away to astrology, you guys. Like, it's like me pulling a tarot card and being like, because I pulled the death card, you are now going to die. Like, the tarot card's not causing some kind of, you know, death and rebirth. It's just symbolizing that it's a potential path, you know, it's a potential energy you could be going through, you know, and so that's all astrology is. And so these are all just potentials, you know, it's all it is. So just be aware of that. Okay. Anyway, so with the last transit we have here, we have Jupiter moving into Leo, your 6th house. Also gonna be like, okay, bitch, let's shine. Let's do what we know we need to do. Let's really grow in the place of work, diet, health, lifestyle, routine. Let's get our performance up. Let's focus on our performance. The problem with this, again, is that it's going to be opposing Pluto in your 12th, especially for the first few weeks that it's in there. So when Jupiter moves into Leo, yes, you're going to want to grow in your performance and your work and your lifestyle and your health and all that jazz, but you're also going to be facing off against, again, a lot of subconscious stuff, a lot of stuff going on in the background, rejection wounds, alienation wounds, like this push and pull between, you know, maybe wanting to kind of hide versus standing out versus getting noticed and validated versus like, you know, nobody likes me, like this kind of push and pull between that, this push and pull between addictions and habits and cycles and self-sabotage and like, you know, sticking to your routines versus sabotaging your routines. Like this kind of thing is going to be very, very big starting June 30th and moving into July. So just be on the lookout for that. Alrighty, Pisces Rising, that is what I'm seeing for you guys. Let me know down below how that resonated, how you felt about it, what you feel is coming with some of these transits for you in this upcoming month. I'd really love to know. Comment down below, sexy Pisces Risings, because you are. And I will see you guys in the next one. Bye. All right, Aries, let's do this. June 2026, your horoscope for the month ahead. Lego. I'm going to go ahead and pull my chart up on the screen here. And basically this month is a bit of a back and forth between you and your identity and what the hell is going on with you versus what is going on with home and family. Honestly, this is a month where you're really going to be feeling like, I just want to go do my freaking own thing. Like, I just want to do me. I want to focus on myself. I have my own independent goals and vision that I'm working towards here. I want to be taking action. I'm focused on, like, I'm buckling down. I'm focusing on, like, maturing and, like, being more responsible with myself. But there's this massive pull coming in from your family, from your home life, from emotional stuff, nostalgic stuff, sentimental stuff, pulling on your heartstrings, you know? And you're like, damn, man, can I just, like, do me? Can I just, like, do my own thing? Like, can y'all take care of yourselves? Like, and so there's definitely going to be this push and pull between family and identity coming up and on and off, like, the whole month of June. Okay. It all really comes back to you and Cancer here. So there may be, like, a family situation that really kind of pulls you out of, you know, where you've been, you know, that kind of, like, pushes you in, pulls you kind of in a different direction, or makes you face it first before you can get back to dealing with yourself. So there could be some, like, family drama or some family stuff coming up, like, you know, and it could feel like everybody's freaking aunt, brother, sister, uncle is involved. It's like, you know, a lot of people could be coming to you for, like, emotional support, or, like, wanting emotional support from you, or wanting to have, like, a supportive emotional conversation with you. And you may be, like, really just blunt and really just, like, direct and, like, you know, get it to them straight. And that's not what they may be wanting from you. Okay. Now, it doesn't mean that you're in the right or they're in the wrong or anything like that. It's just, like, it's just the energy this month. You're going to want to be, like, your own pioneer, going your own way. And you're going to keep having this, like, you know, pull to focus on your family, or to go inward, or to be more introverted, or do things inside, or do things internally, do things in the home. And you're like, this is not what I want to be doing. And so just keep that in mind. All right. So basically we start the month with Mercury moving into Cancer, and then immediately squaring Neptune and then Saturn from basically the 3rd to the 10th. Mercury is going to square Neptune in your sign. And so, you know, maybe a family member calls you, or someone you live with. If you have a family at home, it's like there's something going on in the home that you don't quite understand, or that you're maybe even oblivious to, or maybe you don't even, like, you're just like, okay, whatever. Like, you don't really get it, or you don't really, like, you know, whatever. It's not what you expected. You know, you don't really see what the big thing is. Like, everybody's freaking out about it, and you're like, I don't understand why everyone's making a big deal about this, or something like that. And so then once it squares Saturn on the 10th and the days leading up to it, that's going to be kind of when you, like, put your foot down, or when, you know, there's some situation going on at home that may need your attention, or need your support, or something along those lines. And you may be like, I can't help you, or no, I don't have the energy to do that, or no, I'm not doing that. Like, something like that may happen here. You may be more focused on your own priorities, your own finances, your own comfort, your own security, your own well-being, or, you know, even it still could be finances and security for your family too, or your home life too. But either way, it's like, I'm not dealing with that. You know, it's like they're coming to you and they're hitting that Saturn wall. You may feel a bit detached, or just a bit, like, aloof, or, like, a bit, like, I don't know what to tell you, you know, like, whatever. So that could be happening for you if you don't have, like, a big family at home, or whatever. If you live by yourself, it could be something going on at your house, you know, or your landlord, or something, you know, like, maybe you have, like, a water leak, and your landlord's like, hey, did you know about this water leak when Mercury squares Neptune? And you're like, no. Like, I'm not, like, what? Like, I've been busy. Like, I don't have time for this. You know, like, something like that. You know, like, it's your landlord, you fix it, or something, you know? So it's just this kind of tension between, like, you and what you're trying to do, and your energy, versus family and home stuff, okay? So the good thing about the first part of this month is that we have Jupiter and Venus coming into their conjunction before Venus moves out of Cancer right around the 9th. This is kind of like the silver lining that's kind of saying, you know, whatever's going on at home, I think will be resolved, or there will be some harmony to it, or some kind of silver lining in it. So it's not that big of a deal. But then moving on from that, we're going to have Venus entering Leo right around the 13th. And so this is your 5th house sector. And so this is usually a really fun spot for you to have Venus. But the problem is as soon as she enters Leo, she's going to start opposing Pluto in Aquarius in your 11th. So Venus entering your 5th in Leo is like, I want to have fun. I want to do me. I want to feel confident. I want to be like flirty and like just passionate and do the things I love to do. I want to follow my heart's desire. I don't give a fuck. I want to be free. But with that, it could start to feel like, okay, well, maybe I'm calling my friends to try to do something, try to set something up, and I'm getting rejected at every turn. Maybe I'm like trying to like, you know, hang out with people, or I'm trying to put something I love out into the world and I don't really feel like people are seeing it, or I don't really feel like it's getting much attention. Like you could start facing kind of these like high school-ish rejection, alienation wounds with this transit. What you love and what you are passionate about may not be received in the way that you would like it to be by the world. And so this may cause you to really kind of figure out, okay, do I want to change anything in the crowds that I'm, you know, speaking to, or the crowds that I'm aligned with, the allies that I have, the friendships that I have, the groups that I'm in. So this could definitely be a time of changing up what you are into, your interest, and also the different groups and stuff that are a part of those interests and passions and all of that. So that could definitely be part of it here. For some of you, you know, Venus is going to be being ruled by the sun, which at that point will actually still be in Gemini. So, you know, the sun will still be in Gemini, moving through your 3rd house. So, you know, definitely could be focused on like learning a new skill and putting it out there into the world, but also facing certain fears of like rejection or alienation or haters or like whatever. So that could be the case for some of you guys as well. Anyway, so moving on from that, the next big thing that we have here really is Mars moving into Gemini and immediately basically coming up on Uranus. And so this Mars-Uranus conjunction is going to last from like the 28th till July 4th. It's going to be a really chaotic time and a really risky time, okay? I'm not just saying that. You do want to be, and just where this is at for you, I definitely could see this being like, you know, neighborhood drama, neighborhood situations. Definitely be careful with driving, with this being in your 3rd house. Uranus, Mars is kind of usually really well known for just random accidents. I don't want to scare you. So like if you absolutely have to drive, like it's not like, you know, it's not like this is going to happen to every Aries rising. Okay. But just be aware. Don't get distracted around this time. I'd also say be aware around the 4th of July, you know, because this is in your 3rd house of like local stuff, events, you know, all of that, people socializing with people, you know, friends, neighbors, relatives, etc. So just be a bit careful this year. It's not that you need to be in fear for this whole like 5-day period or whatever it is. You just need to like, just be aware. Okay. Just be aware. I definitely could see you guys doing something for like an event with family members involved. You know, the thing is that Mercury is going to go retrograde right after this. It's going to go retrograde right around the 29th, and Mercury rules your 3rd house. And so this could be a time where you do start getting a bit more down with like family and doing things with family. And that starts really kind of helping you with this Pluto in your 11th house energy. Like you could start feeling more like yourself, or you could start seeing more of your friends coming around and like all of that. Just again, don't do anything stupid. Don't do anything from like a distracted, erratic place. Just be aware. Okay. That's like the main thing here. So last but not least, we're going to have Jupiter moving into Leo, your 5th, on the 30th. And then again, it's going to immediately oppose Pluto. In your 11th house. So once Jupiter moves into Leo in your 5th, Jupiter wants to grow wherever it's at. So Jupiter wants to grow this area. Jupiter wants to grow your heart, grow your love, grow your passion, grow your romance, grow your drama, grow the fun in your life. I would just be careful of having too much fun and ending up in toxic situations around this time. I would just be careful of overdoing something. This is really a huge, huge explosive opposition that can be like something being overdone to where it becomes extreme or blown up or dramatic, and it didn't have to be. So I would just be wary, like, you know, just look out for big explosive energy. But Jupiter here is definitely like wanting to get you in touch with your will and your courage to put yourself out there, to be seen, to shine, and help you face your fear of people, rejections, like all of that jazz. So that is what I'm seeing for you, Aries Risings. Let me know how you guys are viewing these transits coming up. Like, what do you think all this is gonna be affecting for you? I'd really love to hear your feedback down below. Comment down below, sexy Aries Rising, if you stayed until here. I really appreciate you. And again, I'd love to hear feedback on what you think all this is going to be bringing into your life. Thank you guys so much, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye. Alrighty, last but not least, Taurus mother effin' risings. How are you guys doing? Let me know down below. Welcome to your June 2026 horoscope for the month ahead. You guys are my last one. We got this. We freaking got this. Pep talking myself. Okay, let's pull up your chart here on the screen. So basically, Taurus risings, this month for you, this upcoming month for you, there's a lot of back and forth between your 12th house and your 3rd house this month. There's a lot of back and forth between Cancer and Aries basically this month, with Mercury moving through and squaring the Aries transits, and then the Sun moving through and squaring the Aries transits. So that tells me there's going to be a bit of tension in these areas of life for you. So what is going on a day-to-day basis with other people, within your environment, within your lifestyle, within your schedule, your errands, short travels and trips that you're going on within your community, within your friends, within relatives, versus what you're trying to do behind the scenes. And so what this could mean is, like, maybe you definitely want to kind of take some time to yourself, or take a break, or take some alone time, or work on some old habits you want to get rid of, but you feel like your brother, mother, sister, lover, whatever is like blowing you up all the time to talk about their emotional shit at like 1 a.m. and you're like, bro, can we stop? Like, there's something going on here where it's like you're maybe getting invited to a lot of events, or you're getting invited to, like, people that you hold dear, people that you care about, like their stuff, or they're trying to get you to do stuff, but you're like, I just want to be left alone. Okay, like, I just want to be left alone. I want to, like, escape. I want to get away. Like, and it's like you keep getting pulled into like environments and situations, it feels like, in June, that are emotional and that require you to be like emotionally tapped in, but you're like on a mission elsewhere. So you're like, I don't have the energy for that. But you're going to keep feeling this kind of push and pull between the two. Like, maybe you're out and then you run into somebody and it becomes like a 3-hour conversation about how, their dog just died or something. And you're just like, it's just going to be like stuff like that. Like, people are just going to be like calling you or coming over, or you're going to be running into them, or maybe you'll even go to some of these events, because you're like, oh, it's family, or it's my sister, it's my cousin, or my aunt, or my uncle, or whatever. But you're kind of like, can I also just be alone? And so it's kind of like this push and pull. It's like challenging you and maybe even pissing you off a little bit or aggravating you a little bit, but it's all right. It's not the end of the world. It's not like a huge deal. So yeah, it's gonna start with Mercury and Neptune. So this is kind of like you being like, yo, I just want to like vibe to myself, or I just want to like escape. Like, I'm in my own little fantasy world, doing like yoga or trying to go to this like shamanic retreat or whatever. And then, Mercury squares it, and it's like you get a call from a family member or a friend or whatever, and they're just like bawling their eyes out and need you to come do something for them. And you're like, oh my God, I'm trying to vibe, like something like that. Or they're just like not very in touch with what you're going through, and you feel a bit dissociated from what they're going through. And so there's just this kind of like out of touch feeling here, where you're trying to like vibe or escape or like, take a step back, but you keep getting pulled down to this emotional reality, these emotional situations. And so, so then Mercury will then square Saturn in your 12th house as well. This is also potentially you trying to like take a break, set boundaries, like whatever. You may actually have to set a boundary with some of these people blowing you up, or some of these errands, tasks, appointments, could also just be things that are going on in your day-to-day basis, like busyness or something. And it's like you've got to set apart time or change your schedule to like set a boundary here, restructure what's going on in your day-to-day reality. So next, the silver lining of this is that we will have Venus and Jupiter coming into their conjunction. Venus will be back here in Cancer at this time on June 9th. And this is a benefic conjunction. It's the benefics coming together. So usually it's looked at as a very positive thing. Now, it's not always like, oh, money and success is going to fall from the sky, right? But it's more so with this being your third house, some kind of silver lining, maybe whatever problem that you had to set the boundary with, like, you know, it's like you had to set the boundary and maybe it got resolved, or maybe it actually ended up being a good thing. This is kind of a time where it's like you don't have to emotionally manage everybody else's shit, okay? It doesn't mean you have to be a cold-hearted bitch and that you have to seclude yourself, but you don't have to be the emotional manager for everybody else's shit. So if you go to like all these different events or cookouts or like, you know, whatever family stuff or community stuff, it's not on you to carry everyone else's emotional shit. You can be supportive and not take it home with you, right? That's what I'm saying. You can even be like friendly or feel for them, but not like make it your own to worry about. That is the thing here. So keep that in mind. So moving on from that, we have Venus then moving into Leo, into your 4th house, where she will immediately start opposing Pluto in your 10th. This is a very powerful transit, okay? And it's just the beginning, because then Jupiter is going to move into Leo and do the same thing. So from the 13th until the 17th, Venus is going to be opposing Pluto from your 4th to your 10th. And so this is a big deal. This is really bringing up monumental shifts and changes that you may start feeling like you want to make within your home, personal life, family, but also your career, future, and long-term goals. You may really start feeling like there are certain things motivating you behind the scenes or in your personal life that are making you want to step up and take power and feel this kind of empowered shift to change a lot of things in your career, in your long-term goals, to face some kind of fear here, to face some kind of struggle you've maybe been having with your life path or your career or whatever. So this could really be like a lot of changes in the personal life and the public life that really start coming in here. So the next big thing of June really is we then have Mars moving into Gemini and conjuncting Uranus. This is such a big deal. I mean, this is like, it's explosive, it's erratic, it's restless, it's all over the place. It's like ADHD on steroids. I mean, like it's a lot, okay? So this transit though is happening in your 2nd house of money, honey, money, income, resources, assets, finances, priorities, values. So these are the different things that could really come up for you. How you secure yourself, how you know, the resources that you have, the things that you depend on, to keep you safe, basically. With Mars and Uranus coming into a conjunction here, this isn't a bad place to have this, honestly. This could be a massive restructuring and what you want to do to bring in more money. This could be a massive change in your income streams or wanting to add new streams or whatever. You could decide to cut off an old stream that you just no longer want to have anything to do with. I would say just be careful to make any permanent or new changes, brand new changes that you weren't already thinking about, because Mercury is going to be going retrograde right as this is happening, okay? And Mercury rules this Mars-Uranus transit since it rules Gemini. So with Mercury ruling this transit and being in Cancer in your 3rd, it's bringing in this 2nd, 3rd house energy. So, you know, you're doing all these things in your environment, in your community, and there's also this radical change that's starting to happen with your values, resources, finances, what you actually value, what you actually want to have and possess in this life. And so this is definitely a really big thing. I would also just be careful around this time from the 28th until the 4th of July, because this Mars-Uranus transit will continue for those days. And this is going to be a really crazy 4th of July this year. So just be careful, be vigilant. Don't do anything too crazy around this time with this energy. It's very unpredictable. It's very unstable. You have it pretty much in a good place. But what makes me a little bit weary is Mercury being in your 3rd. So, you know, and being the ruler of this. So I would just say, you know, be on the lookout for the whatever events you go to, you know, people you're around on the 4th of July, especially. So last but not least, Jupiter will be moving into Leo and in your 4th house, wanting to grow and expand your 4th house, your home, your family, your foundations, and wanting you to really find your own leadership and authenticity in this area, wanting you to really be good with your inner heart space, you know? but it's going to immediately start opposing Pluto. Again, we have this Pluto opposition happening. And so this is a very extreme change that really could be coming in here. Jupiter could be moving into your 4th, and you could all of a sudden have this random faith that you know what, everything's gonna work out. We need to move. I'm gonna change my career. It could literally be that. This is just such a high speed time for changing. This is just such a high volume time for changing, with Mars Uranus conjunct Jupiter and Leo opposite Pluto. This is extreme full throttle change. But again, Mercury's gonna be retrograde, so it's if it feels like change, it's coming out of nowhere, you might end up changing your mind at some point, with Mercury retrograde. So just be wary of that again. But this could literally just be I want to expand the house, and that's going to help me move towards my goals, or I want to expand the family, or I'm going to make some severe changes to my job and how I'm showing up in the world, my public image, my reputation, all of that. So much stuff can really happen with this. So that's really what's going on with Jupiter and Leo. I talked a lot more in depth about that in my 2026 horoscopes for the year ahead. So if you want to go back and revisit that, definitely do. But that is what I'm seeing for you guys for this month, Taurus. Let me know down below if this resonated. I'd really, really love to hear your feedback. Comment down below, Sexy Taurus Rising. I appreciate you guys, and I will see you guys in the next one.